It's not a cult. Let me tell you about the following program, where followers gather to laugh, learn, argue, and solve the world's problems. Community, unity, learning, thinking. Not at all a cult. Type of cult. No Kool-Aid, no spaceships, no mandatory tracksuits, but they are available. Link in the description. No squirrel mutilations, no sacrificing goats, mild farm work, no throwing virgins into volcanoes, no shucking off clothing while dancing around a bonfire in the middle of the forest to the beat of a tom-tom. The beat of a tom-tom. The beat of a tom. It's not at all a cult. It's not a type of cult. It's not at all a cult. Join the following. Pull up a chair, grab a hoodie, grab a mug, grab a tracksuit. Link in the description. The host is not at all the leader. If random audio starts playing, don't worry, it's just another tab. Community, unity, learning, thinking. Type of cult, no secret tunnels, no Jewish space lasers. Questions welcome, conversation free. Sunday through Thursday, we'll see you then. Now everybody sing. It's not at all a cult. Same type of cult. It's not at all a cult. The same type of cult. Community, unity, learning, thinking. Join the following. Joe is not at all the leader of the following. Not at all a cult. Type of cult.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. I saw someone say you can hit mute till you see the whites of his eyes. I almost popped in early just for that. Just for that. I hope you all had a phenomenal, exceptional, memorable weekend. Mine was very solid. Very, very solid all around. No complaints here. Really, really solid. Great company, great food. What more can a man ever dream of? Seriously. Decent weather too. Like really decent, like really good. All in all, just exceptional. I hope yours was no less smashing. Tonight, we have Anthony Fauci on the cross. That's right. Anthony Fauci's diaries have gone public. Yes, this should be a note to yourself. There's no point to keeping a diary. A manifesto makes a total lot of sense. The diary, no man should keep a diary. There's no upside. There's no upside to the diary because this diary exposes Anthony Fauci as a big fat fraud, as lying to us about what he actually believes based on what he writes in his diary. And he doesn't even call it a journal. At least, he's try and give it like some sort of name that makes it sound less like you're a 14-year-old girl. But yes, his diary now has gone public and is being shredded based on him exposing himself for being not simply a liar, but a ridiculous narcissist. Like an insane narcissist who was directly responsible for pushing all of these different mandates that we labored under for, I don't know, years, despite the fact that he knew that everything he was telling us was gross exaggerations designed to inflate his own fame, his own popularity, his own wallet, denying what he knew about the origins of the vaccine. This is something which should lead to criminal prosecutions. Auto pen pardon be damned. I don't care about his stupid auto pen pardon, not simply just because it's an auto pen. No, 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 no. The far stronger basis to go after it is that it is so broad and encompassing that it cannot possibly be something that withstands legal scrutiny. When you actually look at what the pardon is, it purports to pardon the man. He does have a blanket pardon. My point has been, will continue to be, and shall always be, irrespective of how the Supreme Court ultimately decides on this issue that they have never yet weighed in on. But my point is that it is completely illogical, irrational, inconsistent with textual, originalist, historical, or any other ist you can imagine for constitutional interpretation to empower the President of the United States to issue blanket pardons of the nature that was issued to Anthony Fauci. And that accordingly, even if Joe Biden was not a dementia patient throughout his administration, even if he had knowingly issued the pardon as issued, meaning in the format as issued, it still would not be a valid pardon because no man, president or otherwise, has the authority to forgive a man without knowing what sins he is forgiving. Now, again, this is not an issue that's come before the Supreme Court. It has not yet popped up. But I'll tell you right now, we damn well need an attorney general who's going to prosecute this guy for the evil that he bestowed. Millions of people had their lives, hundreds of millions of people had their lives completely upended, and countless numbers of people died, suffered through terrible side effects, depression, retardation of their development, of their ability to earn income because of this egomaniac's self-aggrandizing efforts to put himself as the I don't know, Saint Anthony of our times and be heralded by the left as some sort of great figure, like a messianic type figure, while he was lying to us based on his own words, based on what he said to us. We're going to be examining that in greater detail. Also, speaking of the dementia, the former resident-in-chief, Joe Biden, his tapes that were created back in 2016, 2017, at the time when he was trying to create an autobiography called Promise Me Dad, which he later morphed into an autobiography that he called Promise Me America, which is somehow an even stupider title. So his tapes have now become public, and it is incredibly shocking that he's actually probably committed the very crimes that the left was screaming and crying that Trump had allegedly committed. I'm going to take a look at that. Finally, the DNC is flat broke, in the red. We're going to look at just how bad things are for them and examine some of the reasons why, based on some of the policies and craziness that's come out from the DNC just over the last several days. All that and more. Plus, tonight we have a goal up that if we hit 15 super chats in quantities of $10 or greater, it need not be super chats. They can be rumble rants. It can be I don't know. You can Venmo, PayPal, whatever it is, carrier pigeon in quantities of $10 or greater. We get 15 of those during the next 2 hours. I'm going to go for hour 3, during which time I'm going to be covering in part Shiloh Hendricks being convicted of using the N-word, which should shock and horrify each and every one of us. It's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Anyway, plus a lot more. I'm probably going to end up manifestoing also, probably, with a whole lot of N-word. No, that's probably not going to. I don't want to promise that. That's probably not going to happen. That's not the language. It's a family show. So anyway, I urge you to get comfortable as I switch into the dulcet tones as we begin tonight's stories. And I'm going to start off tonight. I want to talk to y'all about this Mr. Anthony Fauci. This is We're gonna start this whole thing off. Even Brit Hume, that's right, you remember Brit Hume? He's still alive. You only know that because he's on Twitter or X. Shouldn't call it Twitter anymore. Shouldn't dead name X anymore. So even Mr. Brit Hume is saying this needs a lot more coverage. This is not getting the coverage it deserves. Is that because so many media luminaries were so chummy with the man at the center of a major medical controversy? What's he talking about? Oh, Senator Rand Paul saying, my investigation uncovered that Anthony Fauci kept a diary. What he wrote privately and what he told the country are two different stories. Today, I'm recently releasing his entries from December 2019 through December 2022. So, as we check this out, we'll go through his thread real quickly here. So, oh, good, a UNC alert. Thank you. Thank you so much. January 26, 2020. This is before lockdowns. Lockdowns came in March of 2020. Fauci writes in his diary, quote, now we know what the market was not the source. It was the amplifier. This is in January 2020. The wet market was already off the table in his own private notes. This is him writing excitedly, game on, things are changing rapidly. Like he's so excited that here comes death. Here comes death. Oh, I'm so excited about all the death. But yeah, he's such a psychopath, sociopath, narcissistic, disgusting, awful, evil Anthony Fauci. February 1, 2020, still before lockdowns, the call that produced proximal origin, 12 scientists, only 2 concluded it was natural. Per Fauci's own notes, the rest felt that deliberate insertion was possible. This was never a 50-50 room. Yeah, so, we haven't reached consensus yet, but I'm fairly certain that it's from a wet market. Such a freaking stinking liar. There was not total agreement about the likelihood of deliberate insertion. Ron Fauci said he was sure that it could occur naturally and we should not waste time and divert effort to pursue this. This is expected of him since he was the original gain-of-function person with Yoshi Kawaka. So the only people who are agreeing with Anthony Fauci that this is not coming from a lab are the people who would be humiliated if, in fact, it came out that it was from the lab because they created this disease. So these are the only people who are actually refuting it are the ones who are responsible for creating COVID. Astonishing how the level of lies that they were giving us. Also, Christian Drosten was with Ron. The rest felt that deliberate insertion was possible, given the fact that Dr. Zhengli Ji at the University of Wuhan has been working for years in gain-of-function in coronavirus to allow adaptation of the spike protein to bind to the human ACE2 receptor. We could not let this go. Yeah. All right. So basically, let's just cite the propagandists who have everything to lose by recognizing that this came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Still, before there were lockdowns, February 3rd, 2020, because lockdowns only came in March of that year, Fauci calls George Gao, head of China's CDC. Gao confirms asymptomatic people transmit. Fauci writes that Wuhan health officials did not tell him this, and he thus gave out false information, a lapse that likely allowed the outbreak to take hold. Wow. Because this dude wanted it to take hold, because this ended up just rocketing him into international spotlight. February 12th, 2020, Fauci briefs 4 congressional delegations in one day. Then he runs into Larry Kudlow, who asks when COVID crashes the economy. Fauci's note, I told him that we're okay for now. 9 days after Gao told him asymptomatic spread was confirmed. So he basically isn't telling anyone at this point that people who are asymptomatic could be spreading COVID. May 23rd. Now we're 2.5 months into lockdowns. Lockdown started I think March 15th or so. So we're a little over 2 months into it. Fauci calls the lead author of Proximal Origin, the paper he'd been citing publicly as independent science, for reassurance about his own NIH grant. His diary: I feel much better now that he's in total support of what I have been saying. Had a very interesting and helpful conversation today with Christian Anderson of Scripps Research Institute. He was very emphatic that the work that was done at the Wuhan Institute in association with the grant was not gain of function, which is not true. But he's happy that people are spreading that propaganda on his behalf. July 7th, 2021. So now this is a full year into the whole mess. NSC, this is now Biden's already in office. So we're practically a year and 4 months into COVID being an issue here in our shores. NSC briefing: Fauci writes that the FBI has no idea what they're talking about from concluding lab leak, while NSA's natural origin view was reasonable. He adds he keeps an open mind, and immediately two possibilities does not mean that they're equally probable. Yeah, apparently everyone disagreed with you. We later confirmed that indeed this did come almost certainly from a lab. Definitely didn't come from no wet markets. July 7th, Fauci tells the NSC to go work with Anderson, Holmes, Gary, and Rambaud. Same day, Anderson and Gary post a paper arguing natural origin. Next morning, it's all in his diary alongside the CNN write-up. He pointed the NSC at the authors, then tracked their press. So this guy was so much about his own press coverage, as we'll see going forward, not on this thread, but we'll see that this guy was so obsessed with the media coverage of him and the reputation that he was building for basically being the preeminent scientist on this entire catastrophe. So he's quoting even CNN: coronavirus almost certainly came from an animal, not a lab leak, top scientists argue. I had a very useful and enjoyable conversation with the president of Chile, President Sebastian Pinera. And he's talking to everyone, this jackass. He's spreading his poisonous crap throughout the planet. July 12th, 2021, Fauci complains about how many hours we are all wasting answering letters he calls fundamentally driven by conspiracy theories from senators he names, including me. Asking who funded the research is not a conspiracy theory, it's oversight. It's important to point out how many hours we're all wasting in responding to the multiple letters from senators and congressmen fundamentally driven by conspiracy theories that the NIH has funded work at Wuhan Institute of Virology that led to SARS-CoV-2. Insane. This dude is literally insane. We had a very important meeting to. So who's he citing over here? For example, over the weekend, I was on multiple Zoom calls with my staff, fine-tuning the letters in response to multiple questions from people like Senators Rand Paul, Marshall, Burr. I'm somewhat surprised that Senator Burr was part of this, since he generally is a friendly person to me. It's all about himself. This is all about Anthony Fauci. That's all it ever was about. We had a very important meeting today by Zoom with Michael Dalston and others from Pfizer, members of HHS, including myself, Rochelle Walensky, David Kessler, Francis Collins, Janet Woodcock, all the people from ASPR, such as Dawn O'Connor. The Pfizer people present data from the Israeli study, which we already knew showed a decrease of efficacy against all infections down to 64%. He knew this stuff wasn't working. Still kept pumping it out into everyone. Lord. All right. So this is what Rand Paul was breaking down, but I got a lot more for you from this guy. Fauci's private diary, March 2020. Okay, this is when everything was first breaking out for us. Okay, March 2020. That's pivotal point in COVID in America, because that's when basically 2020 started going off the rails in March of that year. March 21, deaths 9,800. Big front page article about me appeared in the Washington Post. Very flattering. What a jackass. What an utter narcissistic jackass. Very flattering picture of me. What a schmuck. People are dying. He's all excited that he looks good in a picture in the freaking Washington Post. My national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. It's not hyperbole to say that today I'm the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable persons in the world. Wow. Wow. March 22, cases continue to soar. 30,000 USA with 400 deaths. Press is going wild with me. Front page in the Washington Post yesterday, an op-ed by Maureen Dowd in New York Times today about me. Profile by Peter Nichols on me in The Atlantic. He tracked the body count and his press clippings on the same page. The more people that die, the more famous I become. A-hole. Oh my God, what an evil, evil, evil man. So evil. Joe, I would assume St. Fauci has transferred all his wealth to his relatives and grandchildren. He's still receiving an estimated retirement of between $350,000 to $414,000 per year. How can we go after this? Well, okay, look, first he would need to be prosecuted. If you prosecute him with the right charges, in theory, you can disgorge the benefits that were given to a third party if they were given without any sort of consideration. But I would need to research to actually figure out which charges would have to stick in order to disgorge those benefits. But just because he passes his millions on to someone, assuming you can track that he got benefits as a result of his deceitfulness, which probably could, if you can get a conviction of this guy. In that case, I don't think he would necessarily be insulated simply because he transferred them to his offspring or third parties that he controls. So, yeah, but it's a good question. But I don't think that would insulate him. That's not the problem. The problem is first let's get convictions on this guy. Let's get convictions. That's first and foremost. That's paramount. Let's get convictions. But we are a very, very long way from that. Let's pull this open so we can read his idiocy here for ourselves. This thing up. What is this thing? I don't know why I was doing that. Look at him talking about his stupid press coverage. CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell, Fox with Bill Hemmer, White House press conference, major Washington Post profile on me. Meanwhile, global 234,000, new 24,200 deaths, 9,800. Italy, 3,400 deaths, now surpassed China. Isn't this great? Isn't this great? Thank you. A task force meeting, I stressed the problem about the PPEs being diverted to testing as opposed to HCWs. Big front page article about me on the Washington Post. Very flattering. Situation with my natural fame, with my national and international fame is explosive, really unimaginable. It's not hyperbole to say today I'm the most famous and talked about person in the country, one of the most recognizable persons in the world. Countless profiles of me in multiple media. I cannot even read all the things that are written about me since I'm so busy. Seriously, POTUS seems to be enamored of me, even though I'm taking the spotlight away from him. Schmuck. We're developing a very unique and interesting relationship. The entire Secret Service Corps is coming over to me and chatting. They let me into the first gate without even checking ID. Everyone is worried about my health and welfare, probably because it's all over the place. I'm almost 80 years old. What will God take his soul? Hopefully in as painful a way as possible. In public. But through 100% only through natural causes. I certainly don't want to see anybody hurt him. And I mean that sincerely. No one should ever go out and harm him. I was actually just imagining a bolt of lightning splitting him in half. Literally straight from the sky, like God's hand reaching down and just slicing him like a sword. But a human, that would be disgusting and evil. You'd be no better than him if you did that. White House press conference picked up by many outlets, many print profiles and features on me. Ridiculous, too numerous to count. Cases continue to soar. 30,000 USA with 400 deaths. There's no way, and there's no way you can tell me that he's not relishing the death. This is when he's writing them one next to the other. Why are you noting the death in your diary? Your little personal narcissism tour. Why would you be writing this unless you feel as if it's a contributory factor to all the blessings that you're finding going on in your life? This is what's so disgusting about this animal. When he's talking about all the cases soaring on international and national stage, while in the same breath talking about the press going wild with me, front page in Washington Post. Look at all these people dying and look how much coverage I'm getting. There's no way it's not linked in his mind. And it's true. Because if you think about it, if only 100 people caught COVID and died, no one would know who he is. Nobody would know who he is. He'd be the same nobody he was, after he botched AIDS. So he was thrilled to see all these people dying. He was thrilled to see how many cases were being contracted. And it's palpable in his own writings, his own journal entries here. Because that's how he became the Saint Anthony. It's only because so many people died. All these sacrifices to put him on a higher and higher pedestal. The anonymous corpses buried in graves 6 years ago, which basically became his pedestal. Disgusting. I'm trying in several articles and on TV to clarify that the post is talking about hope for therapies, although there are no good data, which I must stick to the science, of course, so much sticking to science. And so fundamentally, we're approaching this from different but not conflicting standpoints. The press are crucifying POTUS for not listening to me and making crazy statements about game-changing therapies and praising me for sticking to my guns. God, disgusting. It's really sickening. Everything about this man is gross. Fauci's diary, March 15th, 2020. I convinced New York City mayor and California governor to close schools, bars, and restaurants. But then Fauci on July 26, 2022 said, first of all, I didn't recommend locking down anything. This is him admitting, I spoke with Bill de Blasio, mayor, and convinced him, based on what I was saying publicly and my conversation tonight, to close New York City schools. He had already decided based on what I was saying on TV. I went on to tell him he should close the bars and the restaurants in New York City. He said he would base this on my recommendation. I had a similar call with Ann O'Leary, the COS of Governor Gavin Newsom, Chief of Staff of Governor Gavin Newsom of California, and said that based on my TV appearances today and yesterday, she's so proud. It's because of me that the entire country is shutting down. The governor has decided to close the schools in California as well as the bars and restaurants. When I left the White House and crossed Pennsylvania 17th Street, several cars honked their horns and shouted, "Thank you," out the window. Came out with guidelines that reflected my pushing for a more aggressive mitigation 15-day strategy. This is from March 16th. This is right when we start our lockdowns. Stay away from bars, restaurants, theaters, and sporting events. He's even excited the stock market dropped by 3,000 points, the biggest percentage drop in history, that he managed to crash the stock market. Sicko. This guy's such a psychopath. And here he is lying about his role in this.
To make recommendations.
I wonder if you would recommend locking down schools if you had to do it all over again.
Well, again, it's first of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down. You're asking me questions. You're talking about.
I wonder if you would recommend
sick liar.
Locking down schools if you had to do it all over again.
Well, again, it's first of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down. You're asking me questions. You're talking about the CDC is the public health agency that uses their epidemiologists and their science-based approach to make recommendations.
I wonder.
Sickening. Disgusting. Fauci's diary says he probably put COVID's fatality rate at 0.2 to 0.3% under oath weeks later. He told Congress it was 10 times the flu. The timeline, February 8, 2020, private diary case fatality rate more like 0.2 to 0.3%. March 10th on Hannity, the mortality rate for this is 2 to 2.5%. Sickening.
The mortality for seasonal flu is 0.1. The mortality for this is about 2.5%.
This is what he wrote. He and I are on the same page in thinking that it's acting like a bad influenza in its transmissibility, and the denominator is much greater than the 34,867 above, making the case fatality rate more like 0.2 to 0.3 rather than 2.2%. He knew it wasn't 2%, and he goes on to basically say this.
Probably lower than that. It's probably closer to 1. The mortality for seasonal flu is 0.1. The mortality for this is about 2.5%. It's probably lower than that. It's probably closer to 1. But even if it's 1, it's 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu. You got to make sure that people understand that. The seasonal flu that we deal with every year has a mortality of 0.1%. The stated mortality overall of this, when you look at all the data, including China, is about 3%. It first started off as 2 and now 3. I think if you count all the cases of minimally symptomatic or asymptomatic infection, that probably brings the mortality rate down to somewhere around 1%, which means it is 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu. I think that's something that people can get their arms around and understand. I mean, people
Sickening liar. Lying under oath, this guy.
we say, well, the flu, the flu does this, the flu does that. The flu has a mortality of 0.1%.
Sure.
This has a mortality of 10 times that.
Okay.
And that's the reason why I want to emphasize we have to stay ahead of the game in preventing this.
Can we speak to
The other part about it that's really so different from anything that we've ever faced before is that if you look at the mortality of seasonal flu, the thing that you and I go through every season, the mortality is about 0.1%. That's a lot. And we get used to that morbidity and mortality. But the mortality of this is about 10 times that. It's at least 1%.
Sickening. Just flat out lied over and over again. Fauci's diary in the February 1, 2020 call that produced proximal origin. 12 scientists on the line. We covered this already. The other 10, per his own notes, felt that deliberate insertion was possible. They flagged Xi Zhengli's gain-of-function work on coronavirus in Wuhan by name. 8 days later, Fauci went on Newt Gingrich's podcast. I've heard these conspiracy theories, and like all conspiracy theories, Newt, they're just conspiracy theories. Yeah, it's a conspiracy theory that's believed by 5 out of 6 doctors. 5 out of 6 doctors that you consult with agreed with these conspiracy theories, but you go out there basically trying to make anyone who disagrees with you sound like they're a crackpot because you're a narcissistic sociopath, psychopathic jackass. Oh, terrible things need to happen to this man. God needs to bring terrible things onto him. Again, not man. I don't want man to drop anything on him other than, bringing him to justice in chains. But this guy's a freaking monster. Damn it, Joe. He is the science. Remember? Yeah, he's the science. That's what he said about himself. I am the science. I am the science. Meanwhile, we started following goodbyes to loved ones on FaceTime and Zoom. They died alone. They had weddings, graduations on Zoom. Funerals were the worst. Yeah. Because he had to control the world. This is what happens when communists take over the world. We saw it. We lived through it. We didn't realize we were living through it. I mean, we sort of did. But, yeah. It's almost like a flex of their power. Western Lensman reporting over here that Jake Tapper was having Fauci over for dinners. Fauci called it friendship building. Tapper told Fauci he wanted to make sure the interview didn't cause any problems. So he's prepping him for these interviews. Tapper would interview Fauci and do things like nod along as Fauci blasts red states. This is what CNN is. Complete crap fest of information. 100% propaganda.
Ideological rigidity, I think. There's no reason not to get vaccinated. Why are we having red states and places in the South that are very highly ideological in one way, not wanting to get vaccinations? Vaccinations have nothing to do with politics. It's a public health issue. It doesn't matter who you are. The virus doesn't know whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. For sure, we know that. And yet there is that divide of people wanting to get vaccinated and not wanting to get vaccinated, which is really unfortunate because it's losing lives.
The conservative political conference, CPAC, is going on this weekend.
Yeah. So he basically sets him up to spew his propaganda. Sickening. They even shut down social. I couldn't even talk to you about it on social media because anything that disagreed with him was disagreeing with accepted science. We couldn't even talk about it. Anyone who did was basically, risking his channel. Most of you who are watching are probably too new in following my show to know this, but some of you, I'm sure, may recall this. The only time my channel so far, Leon Hara, has ever gone in suspension. The only time it ever happened was when I came out on my show and I said that anyone who wants to get vaxxed should certainly go out and get vaxxed. Different people have different health risks and should follow what their doctor says. But the idea of having a law requiring people to get vaxxed, that was wrong. And that we shouldn't be obligating people to get vaxxed. That was what I said, and that statement was considered anti-science. Why is it considered anti-science? Because this big fat stinking liar, this psychopath who tortures beagles and decided that he had to flex his authority and might as being I am the science, came out there and basically was advocating for precisely those types of measures. Now, again, I'm not a doctor. I've never been a doctor, but I know a charlatan when I see one. And everything that this guy was basically saying didn't seem scientific in the sense that he would continually change in his position over and over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. We heard him shifting like it was like sands shifting, like it was like basically if you had some sort of screensaver where there's sands continually moving side to side. That was the science. The continually rotating positions on and on, such as wear a mask, don't wear a mask, get vaxxed, this person, stop the flow, herd. We're going to have herd immunity. Herd immunity went out the door as soon as 80% of the country was vaccinated. Herd immunity all of a sudden was not something that actually existed anymore. Totally safe, totally tested, no side effects, all this crap. I was like, look, you want to trust your doctor? You should trust your doctor. And I'm going to repeat that now just so that YouTube doesn't get confused by what I'm saying now. You should trust your doctor. Follow your doctor. But when this jackass over here, who's been exposed now as being a fat, stinking liar who is all about, was thrilled about death and infection because it gave him more popularity, more fame, more influence, and more power, and more wealth ultimately. Far more wealth, vast wealth, was coming out here with his ever-shifting claims about what science said, and while claiming to be the science. And the ramifications were far, far greater, alas, for a great many people beyond whatever implications of missing a week worth of streaming on YouTube did to me. A million times worse. Right? It shouldn't even, what I dealt with it shouldn't be referenced in the same sentence as the suffering of other people who were left at this guy's recommendation to basically be isolated, depression, suicide, closing down schools, kids basically becoming socially inept while retarding their development, folks going broke, our country going broke as we shut down businesses aside from what they called essential, which was just an ever-shifting landscape of how can we make Amazon as rich as possible? How can we basically start labeling all these different multinational corporations as if they're the only ones who matter, but small mom and pop businesses have to shutter and go out of business? The financial destruction, which he's celebrating with the Dow dropping 3,000 points in a day, thanks to this jackass. The ridiculous shifting science that came from this lying fraudster, this narcissist, disgusting, evil little man. And we have to, the only reason I mentioned my own repercussions was to just draw out for you that even people who question this liar in the moment, question the unscientific science that was being promoted as legislative policy, as mandated policy throughout the country and indeed throughout the world in large respect. While this guy was sitting there lying, and folks like me who dare just say, hey, let's not be quite so oppressive to everyone, were immediately silenced by big tech and big media as being crazy conspiracy theorists. And all we were actually doing was saying the same stuff that he was writing in his own freaking diary. There's not enough evil that man could actually visit upon this guy through the criminal courts, but that's where it needs to start. And again, I want to be 100% clear so no one misunderstands me. I am and always have been serious when I say that it would be terribly evil for any individual to take justice into his own hands against this snake, against this disgusting, evil human being. That would be a horrible thing. I don't want anyone to do that. That'd be evil. There's no reason to reduce yourself to the same levels of evil that this guy is. But I can sit here praying for God to deliver justice in ways that would manifest before humanity. That I think there's nothing wrong with praying for. It's disgusting, sickening. I'm not through with him yet. I ain't through with him by a damn sight. Not by a damn sight. Maybe it's time to drop the manifesto and pick up a serious message to the standing military officers, save our ship. I want to explain something to y'all, okay? When I do the manifesto, I'm a real talk for a moment. When I'm writing the manifesto here, it's an opportunity for me to basically sidevert and share with you thoughts that I think you actually need to hear. So I know it's a joke, or that, people look at it as being a joke. And there is some level of humor that I'm always going to try to invest into what I'm doing. I'm going to try and infuse that into what I'm doing. But the manifesto itself, the messaging that you hear on there, at least 80% of it, if not more, is dead serious about things wrong with the world. I think most people get that. So it is my way of basically screaming at the world, of trying to lecture the world about what the hell is wrong, where it's going wrong. So, yeah, framing it as a manifesto is the humor part of it. But most else besides that, look, there's some things I don't know. Some things I get asked to put in there, that's purely for the humor part of it. But a major part of my show, a major part of what I do here is I want to bring humor while at the same time enlightening you all, or sharing my thoughts about what's going on in the world in a way that is both entertaining, educational, and makes you think. If I can do that successfully on a night-by-night basis, I feel as if what I'm doing here is I'm actually accomplishing something to the best extent I know how. Thanks, Bunny. Thank you kindly. I bet he bought his pardon from Biden's staff, or worse, money-hungry Jill. He knew he needed if any of this was uncovered. Satan posed as savior. He was. Satan posed as savior. I don't know if he bought it or he was, they just look at him with the same saintly eyes that so many on the left look at him. I don't know that he had to buy it. Maybe. Thanks, X-Gen. My daughter-in-law's father took his own life because of the isolation of COVID. Sadly, this story is all too common. It's all too common. We are social creatures. We have a need to interact with each other in varying degrees. Some people have a greater need. Some people have a lesser need. But God created us as social creatures, where we feel a sense of fulfillment by spending time with others. And alas, what you're describing here of your daughter-in-law's father is horrible. It's horrible. I didn't even mention all the people who needed medical treatment for actual real problems that got basically forestalled, diagnoses of various cancers and things like that, which had to get shelved because of concerns about, raging epidemic of COVID. So many people, they're Ashkenazi. It was so bad, felt in the community in Newport Beach, California, heartbreaking. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's terrible. Such an utter tragedy, such an utter waste for nothing other than Anthony Fauci's own personal glorification. And that and several others who got wealthy from it. They also, let's not forget, part of the agenda was to depress the country, because in January 2020, when you heard Trump's State of the Union, that the last one he gave at the end of his first administration, it was evident that it would take a miracle to knock him off from winning in 2020. Because everything was going so well, so exceptionally well, that Nancy Pelosi was ripping up the speech afterwards. Remember the images of her ripping the speech because she was so frustrated with how much success Trump was having in his first term. So you can blame the entire Democratic Party for promoting Anthony Fauci and his wacky lies as being gospel truth. Evil. Just utterly evil. It's just horrible. These people are terribly evil. Say this, say that, use this one, take that one, mix and match, plausible deniability. It was continually shifting this. It was always something new. It was always something new. And the sickening thing is this, in the back of my mind, it was so bad how much they silenced us. In the back of my mind, I'm actually about 15% concerned that based on what I've expressed so far during this show, that I'm going to get a week suspension from YouTube. I have a slight concern about that. They're going to be like, no, this is scientific misinformation. But I got to call a spade here. I'm only sharing with you all the stuff that Anthony Fauci himself wrote in his own stupid diary. But I think there's probably, it's not a crazy out there possibility that to this day, YouTube will still punish me for coming out and saying the stuff that I've said. I never once mentioned mandates after I got locked down for a week. I can't afford to lose a week's worth of streaming. I can't. It's really bad for taking care of my family. This is how I do it. So this guy's disgusting, and it has to be called out. I wore a mesh mask to board a plane in Denver. My mask said, "We the people are pissed." Denver TSA refused me to board the plane. Commies. Yeah. If you're new to the channel, you might not realize this. This hat started because of these stupid laws. If you don't know why I wear this hat, I haven't mentioned it in a long time. The reason I wear this hat is because I went to a rally in downtown New York. I live in New Jersey, and I took New Jersey Transit to go to the rally. And it was a hot day. It was in the middle of summer. And it was basically different unions, New York City union workers like police and fire and teachers, who all got together to complain about mandates, that they couldn't work unless they complied with various mandates. And when I was on the train going in, I forgot I had carried a mask with me, but I didn't have it on. So they told me I have to put a mask on or get off the train. And I was like, whatever, fine. So I put on this stupid diaper over my face, and I went into the city, and it was a hot day. So I went into a souvenir store, and I was like, let me show some love for these union workers. So I got myself essentially this hat. Well, I guess the precursor to this hat. This hat, like, 40 generations ago of this hat, because I've gone through a lot of these hats. And then I went down to the rally, and I'm wearing the hat, and everywhere I went there, everyone was like, I was like giving like thumbs up to like the cops who were there and stuff. And, I was like, I do support the police, so why not? But I'm not a cop. I've never been a cop. I never had any training as an officer. I've never done anything related to police work in my life. But I was like, I'll show some solidarity. Stand together with them. What am I gonna wear? A teacher's hat? No. So it was this or a fireman's hat. And I was like, all right, let me wear an NYPD hat. And on the way home, I was still wearing the hat. And I forgot to put on my mask because I never wore it unless it was like someone was telling me, put the freaking mask on. And the conductor who came through the train looked at me, and I had my ticket up on the thing. You always put a ticket up on the chair in front of you, on the seat in front of you. They have like a little clip thing for you to slide your ticket in so they can basically take it. They always check your tickets, whatever. This guy took one look at me. He's going through ticket. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm just wearing this stupid $15 souvenir hat. And he just glanced at me. He was like this. And then just kept going. And I was like, what? Because you think I'm a cop, so now I don't have to wear a mask? What the hell does that even mean? I was like, this is sickening. This is so sickening. And it's like, oh, okay. You didn't check my ticket? I could ride the train for free, which I didn't. I mean, I bought a ticket, but like, I could ride the train for free. I don't have to wear a mask. I'm not a threat to society. My carbon dioxide is no longer a threat to humanity. It's like, this is retarded. So the hat became my symbol as to like my sickening disgust with the fact that, you can be deemed an elite, someone who's special and privileged just by buying a stupid souvenir hat, which you can buy in my merch store. If you're wondering. The one in my merch store actually has my own personal signature on it. Where is that merch store? I should pull that up here. In case you're wondering. I should, yeah. See, I charge more for it because I gotta make some money on the signature. Otherwise, what am I doing? What am I doing? Where is it?
It's
I didn't pimp my merch at all last week, so excuse me if I take a moment to actually, try to pay the bills in case I could take an unexpected week-long vacation courtesy of. This is my little good Lawgic. That is my own hand. That is my own hand. In case you're wondering, this is my signature here. Well, my signature if I'm signing good Lawgic. So there you go. Anyway, so check out the merch. Do yourself a favor. It's sickening. Everything about this entire scenario is sickening. It's all courtesy of Anthony freaking Fauci. I'm still sitting crying with anger as the memories and emotions that time comes rushing to the surface, remembering how hard it was for me and my kids. Question is, will there be any accountability? I pray there is. Penny, I pray there is. Hopefully stuff like this just wakens our DOJ up into saying, we have to go after this guy. I mean, he was just evil. He was so freaking evil. Not questioning authenticity of work, just pointing out that we need a solution. It's not going to be political. Well, I disagree respectfully, but you can, I'll fight to defend your right to express your opinion. Joe, as much evil that came out of the same Fauci episode, the good thing is that it showed people how evil government can be to lock down its own people. No one will ever trust them again, I hope. I will ask you this. I mean, if they started passing laws like this again, I mean, I don't know what would happen. I don't know what would happen. Thank you, Monster Rain. Appreciate you. My father nearly died from COVID. The medical community threw the book at him, including ivermectin and remdesivir. He lived despite the lies. And thank God for that. I'm glad he survived. Look, I had my own scare with COVID. Destiny, the liberal podcaster Destiny, who's dealt with more scandals than practically Hillary Clinton. So, yeah, he was basically laughing at the idea of me dropping dead of a COVID denier or a vax denier dropping dead of COVID, which was very macabre. My wife got the jab because she had 3 lung surgeries from cancer. So we obviously, based on the information, thought it was best. Now we are concerned. Look, hopefully, Monster Rain. Hopefully, nothing bad happens to her or anyone you know. I had concerns about my children who were in college. Like, I had a daughter who was in college, and I had concerns. Especially because she's 21 years old at the time. She was actually younger. She was like 19 or so in 2021. And she's in college, and she couldn't go to college unless she had proof that she, followed all the requirements. And I had concerns, she obviously would want to start a family. And, that was one area in particular. But thank God my children who ended up getting jabbed have never informed me of any concerns that they've had. But I think look, I want to be real with you all. For people who are talking about the side effects, I do think it's a relatively small percentage of people who deal with side effects. Folks want to portray it as if it's like, this is something that like 30% or 70% of people who got jabbed are dealing with. I don't think it's anything remotely close to that. Pray to God that the long-term effects never reveal anything close to even being 5%. I think it's much lower than like 3% of people who are displaying any kind of actual side effects. But unfortunately, even if it's 0.5%, even if it's 0.1%, these are so many people were compelled to get it. I don't even care if it's 1,000% now that I think about it. Like, you don't force people to do that to themselves. How do you live with yourself that you force people to do this, and now they're basically are suffering with it for long-term impacts? I have no idea what percentage of people actually suffered any sort of side effects, but some people are. And these evil people were just mandating everyone has to get it. Otherwise, you can't operate in society. I mean, for me, it was very easy for me to basically opt out of it because I'm kind of a cloistered hermit with doing what I do. So for me, it wasn't like that hard a thing. But most people in my family ended up getting it. But thank God, most people. I have one nephew who tells me some of his complaints about issues he has from it. There's probably 100 people in my family who got it, if I have to go through the numbers. I only heard of one person in my family having any sort of side effects from it. So, I wouldn't sit there being concerned about it, but there's no reason that anyone should have been forced to do something in order to just fit in with society, with something that had so little testing behind it, certainly on the long-term impacts of it. Elon buying Twitter ripped the skies off deep state. Free speech is crucial to our country. Amen, Fletcher boy. Well said. It's true. So many people suffer greatly unfairly government mandates. Too many. Far too many. I know 3 people who got life-threatening blood clots and 2 people died from quick onset turbo cancer. Yeah. We've all heard some stories. We all have. We all saw like people who basically, you know, athletes who all of a sudden just having all sorts of issues that athletes never seen, you know, healthy prime of their life athletes never seem to have before. Fortunately, but look at it like this, okay? And this is only proving the point, okay? If you want to work in the NFL, I'm fairly certain you had to get vaxxed, right? Of all the people in the NFL, what percentage of them did we see have, you know, or at least publicly recognizable health issues? And that's what I'm saying to you. I think it's much less than 1%. That doesn't make it okay, what they did, particularly considering that the lethality of COVID was most poignant, most cognizable in people over 50. So why it is that anyone in their 40s, 30s, 20s, teens is being compelled when, you know, is just astonishingly poor claims of what reality was, what the situation was, what the hazards were. So, you know, any of my kids who asked me whether they should get it, I said, no, you shouldn't. I'm not going to tell you you can't get it. And if you think you need to get it because of whatever scientific, because whatever societal things you need to conform with, you know, I think that the chances are thankfully pretty strongly in your favor that it's not going to have a negative repercussion. But, you know, you're 20 years old. Why would you be concerned? Can you show me? Look, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on this. I don't remember hearing of a single person under 20 dying of COVID who didn't have serious health issues pre-existing. Serious health issues pre-existing. Now, again, I am not a doctor. I am not giving you medical advice. Nothing you hear here is taken as medical advice. I don't even know if COVID's still out there or not. I'm sure some people claim it is. I don't know what the hell. But I'm not giving anyone medical advice. And I will urge you that you should talk to your doctor before you actually make decisions about what medicinal treatments are right for you, which is a statement I had to say on this show practically nightly back in 2022. But so I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about your personal situation. If I did, I wouldn't know how to treat it medically. I'm simply talking about my own personal experiences and my thoughts. But for you, you shouldn't take that as medical advice because I don't give medical advice here. I don't even give legal advice, and I'm a lawyer. I'm definitely not giving medical advice. Joe, locals, I have shekels. I love the word shackles. It makes me feel so international. Let me check what you, look at that. God bless you, brother. Joe, I bought the hat. I want to buy the tracksuit. Not a tracksuit, but I don't understand the size chart. Median chest size 22 inches. My leg is 22 inches. I think you need to talk with them. If you have a 22-inch chest, you're a tranny. See picture attached. This can't be 20 inches. I see. This is what you're right about that. This is what you shared with me. It's pretty funny. This dude always makes me laugh. Yeah, I don't know what. Triple extra large is 30 inches? Really? I don't know. I don't know, brother. I wish I could help you. I'll ask my my store manager about this, though, because that does seem ridiculous. All right, I need to get move forward here. I took the Janssen jab. I think you mean the Johnson & Johnson, based on the dead virus, not mRNA, because the music touring industry shut down without the card. Yeah, a lot of people did what you did in order to basically be able to operate in society. It's horrible. Glenn Beck saying Dr. Fauci's diary is proof of a man completely drunk in his own celebrity. He was literally gloating that people thought that he was more sexy than Tyra Banks. What? While millions of people were dying, and it looks like he knew exactly why they were dying, and it wasn't the wet market. Fauci knew all along that COVID came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, just like we exposed years ago. When he sits down in front of Congress later this week, and that's part of what should be very exciting, I'm not sure the autopen can save him this time. He can't repeat the old narrative under oath without committing a fresh crime, and I doubt his pride will let him admit he lied. That leaves him with only one way out, pleading the fifth, which would expose the whole facade. I do think he's going to plead the fifth. I'm going to watch all of this. I'm going to watch all this with you. I doubt I will, but.
Maniac. When you get into this part, understand this is the main thing you have to know about this guy. And here's why. He is the wrong kind of, he has no humility in him at all. And so when we had a law that said you can't do this, he felt he was right. And so he was going to do it anyway. And come hell or high water, he would find a way to do it. And then he covered it all up. So the guy who is literally, I believe, responsible for millions of dead, one guy, and it's Fauci and anyone else that was in on this project with him. But Fauci knew it, and he just felt it was too important to let the law stop them. So he found a way around it. Now, if you think that's bad.
And look, I got to be careful with what I pull up here on stream. Because I have no idea. The rules are the rules of YouTube change as often as Dr. Fauci. So I have no idea what I'm allowed to do, what I'm allowed to say, what I'm not allowed to say, other than to continually remind you that I'm not a doctor. But what you're saying there is something a lot of people have said. A lot of people have raised that issue. They talked about cardio. They talked about menstrual issues for women.
Listen to some of the things that he.
Everything related to the blood is where you basically we're hearing all sorts of issues. I don't know. Talk to your doctor. I'm not a doctor.
Said in his diary about his fame.
Gosh,
it's grotesque.
Yeah, I mean, if you even just leave out some of his personal phone calls with people like Barbara Streisand and how he's convincing her to get an mRNA vaccine. Oh, and another little anecdote about how he's teaching Barbara Streisand how to use the Alexa device. He's also saying things like this, quote, "One person said that Tyra Banks was sexy, but that I was even more sexy than she was."
Oh my gosh.
right.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes, you know.
He should start it. Another 1,200 dead this morning. But, they said that Tyra Banks was sexy, but I'm even more sexy.
But on the bright side.
On the bright side, I'm the sexiest man alive. I mean, it's horrible.
And
Horrible,
following
man.
up with that, quote, I kind of feel like I should say Dear Diary. Quote, "Dear Diary, press still hot and heavy about me. Multiple stories per day, directly or indirectly involving me." Oh yeah.
Gosh. Oh my God.
It goes on multiple entries like this where
He talks about, and I got a siding phone call today. They asked me to be on Dancing with the Stars. Can you maybe pay attention to the millions that are dying? I found some other ones here, Jason, that the press doesn't have yet.
That reminds me of one of the things that made me sicken during the early days of lockdown with those stupid TikTok dancing nurses videos. Do you remember that crap? Yay, we're stars now. Let's go. Let's all be dancing while there are people dying 2 rooms over.
Deaths just crossed 70,000. Tragic, of course. But on a lighter note, a woman in line in the pharmacy recognized me and started crying. Not from the virus, but because she was meeting me. I signed her N95. She said, "I'll never wash it again." Let's see.
No.
April 9th, another 1,800 dead today. Tough, huh? But the Washington Post just called me the most trusted man in America. I'm thinking about having that embroidered on my lab coat. August 4, another 1,200 lives lost overnight. Devastating. But on the upside, my Wikipedia page just hit 1 million views in 24 hours. I've asked the NIH communications team to start tracking Fauci mentions per death. It seems important for historical records.
I told you. He was basking in death. The Grim Reaper. I've called him Rasputin in the past. I referred to him as being Rasputin. I did a whole thing about Fauci being Rasputin a long time ago. I'll find it here. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but it bears review. That's Anthony Fauci. He's the biggest con artist ever. This guy still heralded to this day by the left as some sort of man of science. And this is where I want to talk to you about the term science, because I really feel as if he damaged the scientific community. He really did. Because we kept hearing from this con artist, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. I couldn't even come in here and have this conversation with you back in 2021, because if I did, I would get yeeted off of YouTube. That's how overbearing the regulations were, trying to insulate this con artist, this Rasputin, who came in here basically said, it was literally a 21st century Rasputin. That's what he was. He was Rasputin. If you're unfamiliar with Rasputin, that's not just the name of a really fun song to sing. No. The story of Rasputin is a really important history lesson about someone who basically was a con man, and in that circumstance, he used the 20th century version of religion, which is religion. The 21st century version of religion is science. But basically saying that, he was a religious figure, Rasputin, who got himself very close to the Tsar's family and became insanely influential over Russian policy and wielded undue influence until finally the nobleman of the Tsars basically came out and tried killing him for one reason or another. Crazy story. It was like impossible to kill the guy. It's like Fauci. It's impossible for us to politically kill this guy. It's like he's exactly Rasputin. He was he was almost definitely hyped up on tons of cocaine or other amphetamines. He was shot multiple times. They poisoned him with like a gallon of poison, shot him multiple times, and he still wouldn't go down on the night that they tried killing him. It's a fun story. And he was definitely a twisted little sick, what. Trust me, he was just sick. Really sick dude. But the point is, just someone who's a complete and total. You could see my struggle in trying to keep it a family show, because what I was thinking about there was just how, nothing that he did with respect to his personal bedroom life can I possibly describe. So, con man who works his way into being to the inner circle of very powerful individuals and controls policy. And that's what our little Rasputin here, a Napoleonic Rasputin, this 4'7" dwarf over here, basically worked his way into the upper echelons of U.S. government, both under the Trump administration and under the Biden administration, and was the voice of the science, even calling himself at one point the science. So there you go. There you go. I think the Rasputin analogy is actually very, very apt, because he worked his way into the upper echelons of power with complete con artistry. In early 2020, Fauci recorded in his diary how much he was able to make in the stock market drop with a lie that COVID was 10 times more deadly than the flu. At the same time, the same diary, he wrote that COVID wasn't any more deadly than the seasonal flu. While he was going on TV saying the opposite to terrify the public into shutting down the economy. Sickening. Here's RFK obliterating Fauci for lying about the COVID vaccine, getting pulmonary side effects and hiding it from us.
Is this massive dichotomy between what he was saying privately and what he was simultaneously saying publicly. He says in his diaries on January 30th that the Wuhan lab could not possibly be the source of the virus.
Oh, we know that was all
And
false.
then, well, we all know it, but
Yeah.
now his diary, he says he knew that. And yet for 2
It's not a matter of like the fact that, you know, where Laura Ingraham is saying, you know, I knew it was false. No, the point is that he knowingly lied. It's not like he convinced himself of something that was untrue. He knew he was lying while he was lying. That's the point.
years he told us that
But
was
he was
the case.
given a pardon
That's a crap pardon.
prospectively from the last administration. We don't know if it was an auto pen pardon. It doesn't really matter for legality purposes.
Seriously, Laura, seriously. You're going to try defending him with a stupid pardon, stupid bogus pardon.
But Americans want to know, a lot of them, is there going to be any accountability for trillions of dollars lost, children's education destroyed, and public health industry reputation shattered?
Yeah, and millions of people.
And again, in case you joined late, I started the show by talking about his pardon. And I was explaining how blanket pardons are not a thing. If you read the Constitution, blanket pardons, where the president does not know what crimes he's pardoning, are not something that seem to be in the purview of the president's power. Whether you look at the Constitution as a textualist, you look at it as an originalist, but the whole point is he can decide to pardon whatever crimes he wants. That doesn't mean he can just pardon a person without knowing what crimes they committed. Those are two different things. And pardoning a person seems to be beyond the power of the president. Forget about the auto pen. Even if Joe Biden was fully cognizant of Anthony Fauci and deciding, I want to sign this pardon, the form that it's in seems to be complete crap. But the other thing that I did not mention at the start of the show that I want to remind all of you, which I've said in the past, but I want to remind all of you, if you are President Trump, it suits you, we'll come back to this in a moment, it suits you very, very well to test the validity of a blanket pardon. Because if you're Donald Trump, you're not stupid. You know that the left will inevitably try to indict you and your family, all the members of your family, from Melania, Don Jr., Eric, Ivanka, Jared, Barron. They'll probably go after all of them. So you're going to want to give them a blanket pardon. And then, if in fact they get indicted despite your blanket pardons, you want to know whether or not that's a valid pardon. Well, how do you know when it's never been tested in court? The only way you know is if it gets tested in court. Would you rather not? So now the pardon is serving as a bulletproof vest. That's what it's doing for Anthony Fauci. They're like, well, he's wearing a bulletproof vest. What are you going to do? Your bullets aren't going to penetrate. Bulletproof vest. Well, maybe it's bulletproof. I don't think it is. I don't think it should be. I can't say what the Supreme Court's going to ultimately say about a blanket pardon, whether there is such a thing. Even if they end up ruling that such a thing exists, I'll tell you right now, my opinion is that is a stupid position to take. But my opinion in the series of life events is far less impactful than the decision that ultimately would come from the Supreme Court about the power of a president to issue a blanket pardon. But the point that I'm getting at here is, so now we're looking at this potential bulletproof vest. And we want to know, is it really a bulletproof vest or not? Well, if you're President Trump, would you rather have that bulletproof vest tested on your enemies, that they're wearing a bulletproof vest, and you take shots at them and see whether any of those shots get through? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Or would you rather not take shots at them, wait until you're out of office, shots are being taken at your family, you and your family, when you're now wearing what we expect that you'll be putting on, this bulletproof vest of a blanket pardon for yourself and your family, and have test the strength of that bulletproof vest while you're wearing the vest? That would seem to be a pretty stupid thing to do. So if you're Trump, you have your DOJ, which under the Constitution is his DOJ. You should be telling your DOJ, I want you to go after this lying con artist, Fauci, and let's see what the Supreme Court says about his pardon. Does his blanket pardon protect him or not? If for no other reason than to know whether his own presidential pardon that he will invariably give to himself and to his family is going to be effective. For that reason alone, it's stupid not to go after these people who got these blanket pardons. That goes for Anthony Fauci. It goes for the J6 Select Committee. Go after all of them. And it's possible, very possible, the Supreme Court would be like, well, if it's worded this way, then it does work. It works on these types of crimes, doesn't work on those types of crimes. And that will help guide you as to how you should frame your own pardons when you're issuing them to your family at the end of 2028, early 2029. So why would you not do that? It's crazy not to. So for that reason alone, I'm hopeful that Trump, if for no other reason, frankly, there's a million reasons to go after Anthony Fauci, but if for no other reason than his own self-interest, Donald Trump and his DOJ should be going as hard as possible after Anthony Fauci. And let's see what the Supreme Court says about the validity of a blanket pardon. Just learn for yourself. Test out that bulletproof vest on your enemies so that you know whether or not it's going to protect you when you're wearing that bulletproof vest. Or how to improve the bulletproof vest, making a pardon that's framed in a way that actually is compliant with what the Supreme Court ultimately may decide. That just seems like planning ahead, looking to the future as to how to best insulate yourself. Just a thought. Just a thought. Chest size across chest between armpits, i.e. 22 inches. Oh, it's only the front, not the back? Maybe it's just the front, not the back. That would explain it. That's a good thought, Richard. 2JH, maybe that's it. Maybe measure that part of yourself. From basically from here to here, not around and in the back. Which is a stupid way to do it. I would think you would go around the whole waist, lift up the arms, go around the whole waist. That would make more sense to me, but. One, Rasputin didn't kill anyone. True, probably. Two, the prince didn't die of hemophilia unless you count the communist bullets, so he was better doctor than Fauci. Fair enough. But Rasputin has the negative reputation that Fauci richly deserves. Let's hear more from RFK Jr.
Injured. That he lied about masks, he lied about social distancing, he lied about the transmission, he lied about natural immunity. He lied about the capacity, as you just said, of the vaccine to prevent infection. He got vaccinated at a very, very public press conference in January of 2020. And then 5 months later, he had, and this is the first time that we knew this from the diary, he had a pulmonary infarction, which is one of the...
He had a pulmonary infarction. He himself.
The adverse events that NIH, CDC, and FDA said are expected from the vaccine. He never told anybody. He got treated for it privately by the best doctors in America. At the same time, he was telling everybody that that was not an adverse event.
Is there anything else we're missing from these diaries that has not been released that you can share with us tonight?
I don't think, I mean, I have to say a lot of this stuff is in my book. But based upon other documents, but there is something very dramatic, even for me, of seeing him write it in his own journal, confessing to being wrong, to lying about all.
Also loving his own press. I mean, they're going on and I'm the most.
It's disgusting. Everything about this man is disgusting. So journalist Dana Bash was emailing Fauci fun little attacks on Republicans while having on a show team up as a superhero.
You are seen to many.
This is what she is. This is what. Which media personalities fare the worst in Fauci's diary? Some standouts. We can start with professional CNN journalist Dana Bash emailing Fauci quotes about how Jim Jordan trips over his own a-hole trying to debate Anthony Fauci. I received a text from Dana Bash pointing out that the Vanity Fair recently had a headline that said Jim Jordan trips over his own a-hole trying to debate Anthony Fauci. That's what Dana Bash was telling me. Meanwhile, this is her interview with him.
Seen to many as a superhero, but you are a human being, and you've been working nonstop since all of this began, communicating with the public, trying to get a handle on this pandemic in terms of the science. So how do you keep yourself going in the face of all of this death and disease?
I love the death and disease. Are you kidding me? Without death and disease, you think I'd be talking on CNN right now?
You know, Dana, it's really just focusing on the enormity of the problem and the fact that I do have a role in the response to this problem.
Oh, my struggle is so great, but I have to shoulder on.
And whenever that happens, you've got to focus like a laser beam on what the goal is to end this terrible outbreak that we're going through. And I don't really, you know, you don't have time for feeling sorry for yourself that you're tired or that you feel like you just got to suck it up, as it were. I use that because that's what it feels like sometime. But that's what you do. You got to realize that here we are in this country and in this world with so many people who are suffering and dying from this terrible scourge that we're under. So let's just get it over with. And when you do that, you just focus and go for it. And everything else becomes secondary.
Well, that's very good advice. Certainly healthcare workers are doing that in hospitals across the country as we speak. And we appreciate your service. Happy birthday to you. And you've got a lot of work ahead in the Biden administration in 2021 and beyond. Thank you, Dr. Fauci.
Disgusting. Disgusting. A little fellatio that she gives him there. May's pointing out April 17, 2020, Trump says theory that the virus is created in a lab makes total sense. Fauci comes in and claims the virus was most likely a natural occurrence. Trump was called a conspiracy theorist. Fauci was called a truth teller. That's reality.
Whether the virus escaped from this lab in Wuhan, how active is that? And when we're looking at it, a lot of people are looking at it. It seems to make sense. They talk about a certain kind of bat, but that bat wasn't in that area. If you can believe this, that's what they're down to now is bats. But that bat is not in that area. That bat wasn't sold at that wet zone. It wasn't sold there. That bat is 40 miles away. So a lot of strange things are happening, but there is a lot of investigation going on, and we're going to find out. There was a study recently that we can make available to you where a group of highly qualified evolutionary virologists looked at the sequences there and the sequences in
10 out of 12, or 5 out of 6 of them said Fauci's wrong.
Bats as they evolve, and the mutations that it took to get to the point where it is now is totally consistent with a jump of a species from an animal to a human. So, I mean, the paper will be available. I don't have the authors right now, but we can make that available too.
Such a con artist, such a liar. Disgusting. Victor David Hansen, one of the heroes of the world, one of the few remaining heroes, is Dr. Fauci and Mr. Science. Fauci files reveal not just a sociopathic narcissist, but also a pathological schizophrenic. For years, Fauci was assuring the public of COVID narratives that he either knew were untrue or knew little about. He posed as a nonpartisan, even as he collaborated with the left-wing cable news grandees and liberal communists to hound his enemies and magnify his godhead. From the virus's origins and effects of the lockdown to the efficacy of the mRNA vaccinations to the always changing 012 masks wearing protocols, Fauci used his massive government agency and sycophantic media to promote his always fluid narratives by punishing enemies and rewarding friends on the basis of their loyalty to Dr. I represent science. He seemed to be obsessed with firing White House COVID advisor Scott Atlas and demonizing Jay Bhattacharya, Sunetra Gupta, and Martin Kulldorff for the crimes of questioning the Fauci party line. These critics were not radical let-it-rip herd immunologists, as the Fauci camps caricatured them, but circumspect, cost-to-benefit doctors and savvy health policy analysts. Their views, if embraced, might have avoided a multi-billion-dollar global shutdown that wrecked economies. It's probably trillions of dollars if you really break it down, especially derailing the booming fourth quarter 2019 Trump economy, increased the death toll, destroyed millions of livelihoods, harmed perhaps millions, perhaps permanently, the education of millions U.S. children and was hardly based on the science. And what exactly was so-called extremist views of Atlas, Bhattacharya, and others? Healthy children were not at great risk from COVID, but keeping them isolated drained away key resources from the elderly and sick, who certainly were vulnerable. And the nationwide school closures had profound negative effects on children and teens, as did the lockdowns on the general population. Substance and family abuse soared, small businesses ruined, children's formative education years were lost. 24/7 mask wearing was neither practical nor necessary, as opposed to their beneficial use by healthcare workers in close proximities. The experimental mRNA vaccinations may have initially saved lives, but they were not, as billed by Fauci and the pharmaceutical companies, lasting protection from either infectiousness or being infected. And certainly the repeated booster regimens of some could pose serious health risks. Herd immunity was not some crank idea, as the Fauci school libeled these experts, but along with the initial vaccinations, time-tested medical realities that would mitigate the toxicity of the pandemic. We've seen a lot of obscene hoaxes recently that changed national events. The loony Jussie Smollett caper, the phony Steele dossier, the 51 intelligence authorities, and the Russian-produced Hunter Biden laptop con, and the media-fabricated effigy of Joe Biden as fit as a fiddle. But Fauci's effort to attribute the virus to a bat or pangolin publicly, while privately accepting from his own constituents that likely was birthed in Wuhan's lab gain-of-function research, which he had helped to support via Peter Daszak and the policies that resulted from the initial lie, proved literally for thousands a matter of life and death. Well said. Well said indeed. So that's what I got from you on this. That's what I got for you on this. We're getting some all sorts of debates here about like the measuring of the chest thing. I apologize for that. I can't tell you. I can't figure it out. The photos show the measurement on the page. It says around on the mastectomy. I don't know. I can't figure it out. I don't know. I was just speculating. So, if there are any updates with respect to the efforts to prosecute Anthony Fauci, I certainly will keep you apprised of that. We can only pray and hope that justice finds him and finds him hard. Hey, Kansas Meemaw, 5 months. 5 months. Piano Dean, is it possible any of these sycophantic journalists like Tapper could be called to testify to Congress about what they knew and when? Unlikely. The whole freedom of the press type of thing. It's unlikely. I wouldn't expect that to happen. All right. In other news tonight, Joe Biden's tapes, his conversations that he had with his memoir autobiographer, ghostwriter, Zanistro, whoever the hell this dude is, the one who helped him prepare his book, Promise Me Dad, which later became Promise Me America. So his tapes, 70 hours of recording of him talking to his ghostwriter, now becoming publicly available, as the Oversight Project is going to get Biden's tapes imminently. The injunction pending appeal by the D.C. Circuit Court has been dissolved. There was a big fight that was going on over whether or not this is something that should be made public. When Robert Hur was investigating Joe Biden to see whether or not he should be prosecuted for his mishandling of classified documents, he didn't simply interview Joe Biden, which, and I want to be clear here because I was a little confused about this when I first saw it also. There's two different sets of tapes made very far in time apart, one of which we got a year ago. That was Robert Hur's own interview of Joe Biden, where he sounds like an adult old man. I covered this on Wednesday evening, and I was laughing at that on Wednesday with Sin at the nature of just how he could, in 2022, 2023, he was incapable of answering basic questions. just basic questions. He would just ramble on for 4 minutes about things that had nothing to do with what question was posed to him. Well, that's one series of tapes, which that was like 5 hours, that has been made publicly available, and it has been available for roughly a year now. But there are other tapes which come back from 2016, 2017, and these are tapes of his conversation with his ghostwriter. So when Robert Hur was doing his investigation, he, in addition to interviewing Biden, he also seized the tapes, because in the conversations with his ghostwriter, he seems to discuss classified materials, and he's waving them around in front of him. Now, some of you may not be old enough to remember this, but I'm old enough to remember it. When President Trump was facing charges in the federal court, in Florida's federal court, for after the whole raid on Mar-a-Lago, there was all these different questions about how he was potentially sitting in an interview and folks were claiming that he was holding classified documents. You might remember this. They're like, oh, what's he saying here? He's talking about plans to like basically attack Afghanistan and potential bombing sites. And in the tapes, he says something. You could see it right here. And it's not clear. To me, it was actually fairly clear that he was actually not holding any classified documents. He said, this is all classified, because he mentions this is classified, but he's not holding classified documents. He's actually, it seems as if he's holding a magazine article and waving it at the reporter. But Jack Smith and the left were all screaming, oh my God, he's sharing classified documents with someone who's not censored, someone's not allowed to have access. He's sharing classified documents. That's what they all were claiming. For months on end, we were hearing that complaint. How he's got to be thrown in jail. He's risking national intelligence. That's what they were all screaming. Well, we're going to see here that it seems as if that's precisely what Joe Biden was doing. Waving actual classified documents in front of his ghostwriter. He's certainly not cleared for that sort of thing. And why will we find that out? Because, well, United States Court of Appeals of Columbia Circuit today came out with this order. Let me embiggen this a little bit for you. In the case of Heritage Foundation, Mike Howell versus the United States DOJ, Appellee, and Joseph R. Biden. Upon consideration of the plaintiff's emergency motion to dissolve injunction pending appeal, the government's motion to dissolve administrative injunction and appellant Biden's consent to the government's motion, he ended up giving in and saying, fine, you can have access to it. Ordered that the administrative injunction entered on July 10, 2026 and extended to July 20th be dissolved. And hence, those 70 hours worth of tapes are now going to enter the public domain. We're all going to be able to get access to it. And some people have started breaking it down and ripping it apart. As reported here.
Breaking news tonight about former President Joe Biden. Today, roughly 70 hours of recordings of an interview he did with a ghostwriter in 2017 before he was president were released over Biden's objections. Senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins me. Weijia, what do these tapes tell us?
Well, Matt, the newly released audio shows that in 2017, when former President Biden was writing a memoir, he told his ghostwriter on several occasions that he had classified documents in his possession. Biden can be heard saying, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs, in reference to volumes of notes Biden kept in his home. He also said
he knew he was improperly holding on to classified stuff.
Some of this may be classified, so be careful.
He doesn't even know what he's giving up. Some of this may be classified, so be careful. Don't just go waving around. He's talking to someone who has no clearance whatsoever. Maybe a freaking another Chinese spy for all we know.
Biden, who fought for years to keep these recordings private, would later publicly criticize President Trump for his handling of classified documents. We asked a spokesman for Biden for a comment about the new tapes, but he said they don't have one. Matt.
Ouija, thank.
Yeah, of course they don't have one. No comment. Data Republican breaking it down for us. The Biden ghostwriter tapes are out. Tonight, the Oversight Project released roughly 70 hours of audio from Joe Biden's 2016 and 2017 interviews with his Promise Me Dad ghostwriter, Mark Zwanitzer. That's the name. I think I said the name wrong before. Mark Zwanitzer, the same recording special counsel Robert Hur cited in 2024. They came out only after a two-year court fight with DOJ that Biden's own lawyers tried and failed to block. I started going through them. Across 5 of these interviews with no cleared person in the room, Biden pauses to flag his own notes as classified or too sensitive to hand over. On one tape, he says out loud, "Some of this may be careful, so be careful. Some of this may be classified, so be careful." Oversight's Jeff Clark, the tapes made clear that Biden disclosed massive amounts of classified information to his ghostwriter. No thesis yet. Analysis ongoing, but here are the biggest quotes so far in Biden's own words, each with a timestamp you can check against the audio. As always, patience as I pull this together.
Well, some of this may be classified, so be careful. Well, some of this may be.
February 16, 2017 at 4:19, early on in 09. I just found all the classified stuff downstairs. Biden reads his diary aloud to Zwanitzer, narrating a classified National Security Council meeting. Oh, there you go.
Found all the classified stuff downstairs. Early on, in 09, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs. Early on.
April 24, 2017, on the handwritten records he kept from office. I had all those in the house in a safe. I don't know what they made me do with them.
House in a safe. I don't know. No, I had all those at the house in a safe. I don't know what they made me do with them. No, I had all.
The gray area on tapes. Wanted, sir. This is probably something that goes to the presidential papers. I don't think so. It's in between. So that's the gray area.
That goes to the presidential papers. This is probably something that goes to the presidential papers.
I don't think so. It was in between. I didn't want to turn them in.
Right. So that's the gray area.
November 3rd, flipping through his own notes for the ghostwriter. This is classified. It goes to the 17th.
This is classified. It goes to the 17th.
October 10th, 2016, showing Zwanitzer notes he'd held on to.
But I mean, this is they didn't even know I have this. But
literally, this is exactly what Trump was indicted for. This is exactly what Trump was indicted for. Not all of it's about paper. April 24, 2017, on why no one went to prison after 2008, Biden calls Jamie Dimon a big Barack supporter early on. Then people should have gone to jail.
The guy who was a big Barack supporter early on is Jamie Dimon.
Yeah.
And Jamie Dimon was part of the people who should have gone to jail.
He's so corrupt. They're all so freaking corrupt. Even though we weren't tied to Wall Street bankers, we were pretty well tied to the Wall Street bankers.
We were pretty well tied to Wall Street bankers. Even though we weren't, quote, tied to Wall Street bankers, we were pretty well tied to Wall Street bankers. Even though we weren't.
So there you go. There you go. There's a lot more that's going to come. I expect a lot more is going to come out. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. But this guy is so crooked. So crooked. Crooked Joe Biden. The other big story I want to break down for you, and this one is kind of interesting. There are few things that I enjoy as much as watching the left eat itself alive. And the left these days can't do enough of that. They are continually eating themselves alive. And this is, and I guess they make so many screw ups. It's hard to not want to just sort of punch yourself in the nuts. And that's what the DNC is doing now. And apparently, it all starts with the fact that the DNC apparently is broke. Yes, you heard that correctly. I'm not saying this. You know who says it? None other than leftist talking head Joe Scarborough from MSNBC, sitting alongside, sitting shotgun to his boss Mika Brzezinski, complaining about DNC chair and how he's furious with the fact that DNC is now broke, in the red. This is great.
So we move now from things making a lot of money,
right,
to things losing a lot of money.
Go woke, go broke.
At 7 minutes past the top of the hour, there is new reporting
This has to be a
morning
DNC story.
on the dire financial situation for the Democratic National Committee. Now less than 100 days until the midterm elections. The New York Times reports the Democratic Party is so short on cash that leaders are asking vendors not to send bills until after the midterm election.
Not good. That's not good. This is Ken Martin, the head of the DNC, who's asking vendors, please don't bill us until afterwards. just give us credit. Give us credit for the next 100 days, because we're going to need to rack up a lot of credit because we got no money. We're hoping that we do well, so just give us a lot of credit.
The paper spoke to 3 people briefed on the move who called it a bookkeeping maneuver. The paper highlights.
And I do agree with Gumbatron here. This is USAID cuts. This is why. They were always propped up by using our dollars. Always. For the last several decades, they propped themselves up by cycling money back to themselves through USAID. You're not going to hear that from Joe Scarborough when he's going on his little rant here. It's like, oh, why are we going broke now? Oh, I'll tell you why, because you lost your USAID funding. That's why. That's why.
The cash disparity between the two parties, noting that President Trump controls a $400 million super PAC. The Republican National Committee is sitting on nearly $130 million, while the DNC is $2 million in debt.
Yeah.
The news outlet Notice also has new reporting on the DNC putting its physical headquarters up for collateral.
We're going to mortgage our building. Oh my God. The DNC headquarters is times are tough. Times are tough for Ken Martin.
Last year, in order to obtain a $15 million line of credit
this is just
to
so
help
pathetic.
invest in off-year elections.
This is so pathetic.
The paper also reports that in a peak of frustration earlier this month, Martin threw his phone at the desk of a junior aide while upbraiding the person. The phone tossing incident resulted in a formal complaint to the DNC's HR department. None of the people the Times spoke to witnessed the encounter, and there was some dispute over how aggressively the phone was tossed.
See, that's the key. How aggressively was the phone tossed?
Are we really in the weeds this deep? As Mr. Martin was said to have thrown the phone at the desk rather than at the...
Was it like at his head? Was it at the desk? Was it just he picked it up and just sort of just like dropped it?
Oh my God.
Did he just like slam it down? Well, this is what we need to know. This is what we need to know. Ken Martin's not a happy man. MSNBC is just sitting there. Look at them all. Like, it looks like that every one of these people, except for this little weird laughing woman here, every one of them look as if they're basically sitting on an enema and like just waiting for everything to drop. They all look so uncomfortable. Look at his face. Oh, the little, like, every one of them with their pursed lips are like, like they all look as if they just got like punched in the sack. This is so delicious. Oh, this is not good. Why are we so broke? Why doesn't anyone want to give money to the DNC? Don't you realize the DNC is your friends? Why is no one giving us money? Why aren't we getting our money? Are we going to go belly up? We're basically the TV station for. I'll tell you right now, I think MSNBC has a year left. There's no way. No one wants them. They're so unpopular. I think a year. That's what I'm giving it. A year. If you're telling me the DNC is broke, how is MSNBC actually a successfully? How is it possible that it's a successful venture? How is it making money? I don't believe it. I don't believe it is. Think they're any better than Stephen Colbert? But they're tanking like anything. I think a year. I gotta sort of note this because when I don't make predictions often, but that's my prediction now. Today's July. It's now officially July 28, 2026. By July 28, 2027, MSNBC is shuttered. That's my prediction. I don't see them surviving. That's my call. Was that wrong of me to say? Joe, my moosh, the RNC should buy this loan and then call it. Nice. I like your thinking. The DNC is broke when the money laundering scam known as ACLU has about $500 million, so that's a concern for the GOP. I'm telling you now, I don't see how MSNBC is going to survive. We're going to start seeing a lot more closures, I think, soon of these left-wing outlets. Did we hit our goal? So close. So close. Oh, actually, I should call it. Because Jay sent me on locals when we count locals. So I'm going to call it now. Go! Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Well done indeed. Good on you. We're going to hour 3 tonight. See? Just like that. You guys think I don't keep track of what's happening on the other sides. I keep track. So this one over here is technically our 15th. Well done, other Guyaks. You didn't even know. Companies don't put ads on all news organizations sell customers anymore. It's to buy the loyalty of journalists. It's all medical ads now. Well, I think that I still think I don't see it. We see all these different companies are starting to struggle now. All these different news outlets are starting to struggle. I think MSNBC must be drowning.
Heilman, I'm going to you because I know you saw Tropic Thunder. Who knew the DNC would pick Les Grossman as their as the head of their?
That's pretty funny. Referencing if you missed Tropic Thunder, I would share a clip of it, but I know it'll be flagged, and I'm not in the mood to deal with that tomorrow. So
It's Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder, and not only that, I'm sorry.
Hold on, let me see if I can. I'll try it this way. If you never saw Tropic Thunder, I urge you to please make sure you check it out, although it is very vulgar. In fact, you're about to hear just a little piece of how vulgar. You're going to hear a little clip of how vulgar it is.
Hit that director in the face. Really.
Now you're gonna get $1 million. You know, see Simple Jack again because we
This is Les Grossman.
kill him.
This is Les Grossman. Who is this?
This is Flaming Dragon.
Oh, okay, Flaming Dragon. Fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face.
That's the Les Grossman reference. That's the Les Grossman reference. That's talking about Ken Martin throwing a phone at his own people there.
Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here, but Asia Jack is my territory. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm going to have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly fucking firestorm upon you. You're going to have to call the fucking United Nations and get a fucking binding resolution to keep me from fucking destroying you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker.
That's Ken Martin right there. It's a great reference there from Joe Scarborough.
With the president's approval ratings at an all-time low, with the ballot test at an all-time high for Democrats, with Democratic candidates raising money. John Ossoff, I mean, good Lord, they're raising money left and right.
I am doing better than the DNC. That's funny. I'm doing much better than the DNC. Thank you, John Jolene. Companies don't put ads on. Oh, we got this one ready. That's pretty funny.
But they still are at this huge disadvantage because Ken Martin is, get this, when Democrats should be doing better than ever, Ken Martin is mortgaging the DNC to be able to pay bills. I'll say that again. You have a DNC head that is mortgaging the building so he can take out a loan. And when he's not doing that, the New York Times reports that he's going full, and you never go full Les Grossman, but he's gone full Les Grossman, throwing the phone at the desk.
You don't want to go full Les Grossman. You don't want to go full Les Grossman. No.
Baby, you never go full Les Grossman.
Okay, even I know what you're talking about.
You don't go full Les Grossman.
You don't do it,
though.
Just stop.
Can I ask you this question, though, about Democrats?
Okay,
If a Republican had raised no money like 3 or 4 months ago, this is not a new story. 3 or 4 months ago, I was asking people, why does this guy still have a job? I don't know Ken Martin. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy. I'd like to play Parcheesi with him sometime.
No.
But if you're in debt, while the Republicans have almost $200 million, you got to go. Why is this guy still in his job? Will Democrats once again snatch defeat from the jaws of victory?
Is that possible?
What a Democratic thing to do, to say, well, if we lose, if we hand full ultimate power, autocratic power over to Donald Trump, and over the next 2 years, instead of taking control of the House of the Senate, which we should do if you look at every single poll that's out there, well, then
That's not really true, as we're about to see.
we'll change this bureaucrat that
Oh,
nobody's
no,
heard
it's
of
not
or nobody
true at
knows.
all.
Republicans, let me tell you, Ken Martin right now would be flipping patties on the back grill at the Capitol Hill Club.
And Joe Scarborough is an idiot because he has no idea what he's talking about here. He's blaming this on Ken Martin and freaking out at Ken Martin that this is all the DNC chair's fault. No, it's not the DNC chair's fault, doofus. It's Democrats suck. And everyone's seeing just how hard they suck right now.
There's no way Republicans would keep a guy like this who had his party in debt still running that party. It's not a close call.
Are you a socialist party or not? Because you can't seem to make up your minds. You can't seem to make up your minds. You got half your party says you're a socialist and half says it's not. So you tell me, doofus, why is it no one's giving money to the Democratic Party? Well, who would give money when you have no idea what the hell the Democratic Party is?
How does this guy have his job? And if Democrats don't get rid of him right away and put somebody like Rahm in, somebody like Rahm, that a lot of people in the party hates. But, you know, Rahm knows how to win elections. And I know that for some people that just doesn't matter. But Rahm knows how to fight, win, and raise money. Get him with somebody else that's done this before who knows how to win. And get the phone throwing Les Grossman guy. Get him flipping patties at the DNC fund.
Yeah, Rahm Emanuel had the first black president. So that sort of changed things a little bit. That made things a little easier for Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel wasn't dealing with the crowd. I don't think Rahm Emanuel wants to have on his ledger the current Democratic Party as being his charge.
Razor next week.
I don't think he wants that as his charge because this is what the Democratic Party is about today. Here, a former Democrat operative just revealed shocking party secrets. Donors and consultants drive the craziness. It's worse than you can imagine. George Soros ordered funding only for non-whites. This is what we're hearing coming out of the Democrats. This is why your Democratic Party, this is one of the reasons why the Democratic Party is just a disaster.
Is it the donors that are driving this craziness?
It's a combination of the donors and the consultants. I would see the craziest things behind the scenes. It is so much worse than you can ever imagine. The public doesn't know this, but George Soros' organization actually put out a directive around 2020, 2021 that said that they were only going to donate to organizations led by non-white leaders for the next 5 years. I personally saw people that didn't get jobs because of this policy. Organizations were terrified of losing their funding. It completely changed the leadership class in the Democratic Party.
Is it the
So that's one problem, is that basically you're cutting out like 40% of your population. Let's face it, the majority of people in the Democratic Party who have any sort of education, for whatever education's worth these days, is your white rich liberals, and they can't be running the organizations if they want to get funding from George Soros, who's basically the financial wing of the Democratic Party. So you're already shooting yourself in the leg by taking an approach like that. That's one of your problems there, DNC. There's more. People just, Harry Enton's about to spell out for us just how much people hate Democrats. I got 3 clips here of Harry.
Okay, the Democratic Party net favorability. Back in 2018, when Democrats were able to take control of the House, they were actually on the plus side of the ledger. They were actually in positive territory at +1 point. Look now in 2026. We're not just talking down there underneath the Potomac. We're talking down there with the Titanic. We're talking 24 points underwater. And this is just the party overall. This isn't the congressional leadership. This is the party. The party. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible brand. Terrible. I want to almost get my Charles Barkley. Terrible, terrible. I can't even do a Charles Barkley. But the bottom line is it's absolutely terrible. Now, what is the reasons? Why is the Democratic brand so terrible? Well, one reason why the Democratic brand is so terrible at this point in the voters' minds is, take a look at this trend line. Voters saying that Democrats are too liberal. In 1996, it was 42%. In 2013, it was 58%. Now, the clear majority of Americans believe, and the clear majority of voters say that the Democratic Party is too liberal. 57%, they think that the Democratic Party is out of the mainstream, out of the frame, I dare say. My God, this is a massive, massive problem.
You think, Harry? Give us more, Harry. Give us more. Give us more, Harry.
Are quite surprising. Trust Dems or Republicans on around. According to CNBC earlier this month, you'd think, okay, that's one poll. The Republicans trust by 2 points. But then CBS News comes out yesterday, and what do you see? You see the exact same thing. Trump and the Republicans take the cake. They are trusted by 2 points.
And this is an issue that I say is terrible for Trump, what's going on in Iran. And still, he's more trusted than the Democrats on Iran. I think the way he's handling it now, I think he's got to get out. I think he should have been out weeks ago. I think it's a bad thing that we're still there. But he's still more trusted than the Democrats.
Now, one poll is one thing, but you put the two of them together and you can see that
if you're Ken Martin, how are you supposed to raise money when your party is so unpopular?
The American people, simply put, are not buying.
And believe me, I am not sitting here pitching for Ken Martin. Although I am thrilled with the fact that he still has the job, because I think he's completely ineffective. But yeah, it's not like he's working with having like a rising superstar like Barack Obama circa 2008. No, he's dealing with like socialism and crazy pro-trans crap.
What Democrats are selling on Iran, they still trust Republicans more, even if you look at President Trump's approval ratings on the subject, and they're -2. But yet, Republicans and Trump still more trusted than Democrats are in Iran.
Has there been any change over time?
No, and this is even more surprising, right? You might think, okay, as the war has gone on and on and on, you might think, hey, the Democrats would be gaining ground in terms of trust that the American people would give them on Iran. If anything, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Trust Democrats or Republicans more in Iran. In April, according to a Washington Post Ipsos poll, the Democrats were more trusted by 2 points. Again, close margin, no clear leader. But look where the shift has been. If anything, the shift has been in the Republican direction. Now the Republicans and Donald Trump are trusted more by 2.
I told you I can give you some good news sometimes. This is good news. This is really good news.
Points on Iran. So again, over the course of the war, if anything, the Republicans have been the ones that have been gaining ground, which I think just goes so opposed to all of the news coverage that we have seen so far and all of, the media. You would think, hey, but no, the American people are actually trusting the Republicans and Trump, if anything.
It's 420 here.
More now than they were, so let's say, halfway through the war.
So how possible is it that part of this is just that Americans don't like Democrats in Congress much at all?
Tell us that. Tell us that, Harry.
Congress. In late February, at the beginning of the war, it was minus 41 points, minus 39, minus 39. And so you're just looking at these numbers right here, and you go to yourself, no wonder what's going on at this point, that Democrats simply put cannot take the ball and run with it and actually in the polls be trusted more than Iran, because the Democrats in Congress simply put are not well liked. In fact, these are the 3 lowest on record in terms of percentage points for the approval for Democrats in Congress. So it all puts together a picture. Donald Trump and Republicans may not be liked, but Democrats in Congress are really hated.
A lot of this is
Congress. In late February.
There you go. We just gotta be less unpopular than the Democrats. It's pretty tough to beat the Democrats and being hated. That should brighten your day. That should brighten your day right there. Why are they so hated? Well, here's another reason. Here's another reason. I got so many reasons why Democrats are hated. Just in, over a dozen top Washington, D.C. police officials have been placed on leave and face possible termination after being caught manipulating crime data to make it seem lower than it was before Trump's takeover. This has to be illegal. Make sure to prosecute. 13 members of the Washington, D.C. Police Department are on administrative leave tonight after an internal affairs investigation into alleged manipulation of crime stats. The Washington Post reports they're facing termination.
Members of the Washington, D.C. Police Department are on administrative.
So apparently, one of the things people don't like is when Democrats are running things, there's all sorts of crime, and they won't even tell us that there's all sorts of crime because they manipulate their stats. They just lie. They don't fix the crime. They just fix the numbers.
Leave tonight after an internal affairs investigation into the alleged manipulation of crime statistics. Washington Post reporting they are facing termination. The district police union is welcoming that decision, saying the move marks a long overdue step toward justice and the restoration of integrity within the department. Members of the Washington, D.C. police.
So that's one problem that the left has. It's crime, lots of it. And they don't even bother addressing it. Why would you fix crime when you could just fix the numbers? Here's another thing about which may have folks like sort of not really trusting the Democratic Party. It's Mayor Mamdani. Just in, Ugandan Mayor Mamdani is facing outrage for publicly posting a searchable database of wealthy property owners in New York City. Wow. The city just posted a searchable list of every homeowner on the hook for his new tax, names, addresses, 30,000 of them. He just doxed intentionally, not by accident, as a matter of policy, talking to his socialist lunatics who we know that they're totally on board with people shooting CEOs in the streets of New York. So they just doxed 30,000 rich people, which I don't know, maybe they all are rich. Just doxed 30,000 rich people in New York. This is how you chase the wealthy out. You basically say, we're putting you on a list and letting everyone know where you live. in case they decide to do harm to you. This is insanity. Insanity. You have to be insane to live in New York City if you have any sort of money at all. Insane. You have to be crazy. He literally just put a target on the back of your head for every lunatic out there saying this is one of the rich people and this is where they live. Literally insane. A socialist mayor handing out Rolodex of the rich in a city that just watched a CEO get gunned down on the sidewalk. Sounds like a hit list. Does. If you're wealthy, and you're not fleeing New York City from this lunatic who is happy to see you get gunned down, there's something wrong with you. They're going to flee out of there so fast.
Appetizer, because if you own property in his town, he knows exactly where you live. The city just posted a searchable list of every homeowner on the hook for his new tax. Names, addresses, 30,000 of them. A socialist mayor handing out a Rolodex of the rich in a city that just watched a CEO get gunned down on the sidewalk. Sounds like a hit list. You got a problem with it? Go protest. It's what the city's there for anyway.
I think one of the bedrocks of our city is protest. It is something that has been a part of what makes our city so special, that New Yorkers can express themselves, whether they are in support or in opposition, no matter on whatever topic.
Yeah, you're a rich person, you go protest there, you're going to be gunned down. So I don't think that's a good idea. You're holding a sign saying, leave the rich alone. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a smart move. He knows they're not going to. He knows there's no way in hell they're going to protest. Also, the rich people, they got jobs. They actually have, bills to pay. They have payroll to meet. So, yeah. Schmuck. Psychopath. Freaking lunatic. He's just chasing the wealthy out. Just chase them away. It's going to become a zoo. Here's more problems with being a Democrat is they seem to care more about illegal aliens than they care about you. That's another problem you got if you're Ken Martin. If you're Ken Martin, you got folks like even rhinos coming out whining on CNN over reports of ICE surging into Springfield to arrest illegal Haitians. As bad as he is, Democrats are worse.
The city of Springfield.
This is Governor Mike DeWine, schmuck.
Springfield has come back strongly over the last few years, an old industrial city that now is really coming back and moving forward. One of the reasons they've been able to do that is because of the Haitians who have filled these jobs.
They're so excited about the Haitians. He's so excited about the Haitians filling the jobs. Now, the reason that this topic's coming up, just a little side note here for you, in case you're wondering why are they surging and going after the Haitians now, well, there's good reason for that. And that's because Trump he just decided to, he was successful in removing temporary protected status for the Haitians. So, and this despite the fact that the Biden administration, before they left office, was working very hard to keep them from being able to remove, and they were removing the Haitians and wanted to add temporary protected status to millions more people because they figured that would slow down his ability to remove these freaking hordes of illegal aliens. So this was a bombshell that came out. This is actually a different report than what I planned on pulling, but
Biden White House memo from the administration's final days revealed plans that could have expanded temporary protected status to more than 3 million non-citizens. In the memo, the Biden administration acknowledged that previous court challenges blocked President Trump's effort to end those protections. The memo said Biden.
So the memo basically that this was in the end of the Biden administration. So the cadre of psychopaths who were running his administration while he was sitting there staring off into space, they were like, hey, what can we do to try and keep these illegal aliens here? So they said, well, we know that he struggled in his first administration with canceling temporary protected status. So maybe we can grant that to millions more people. Just make up a reason why we have to basically give them protected status.
Senior team had also received requests for varying types of new TPS-related actions before Trump would take office. FAUCI'S Digital reached out to Biden and a former Biden official for comment, but have not heard back.
That's unbelievable. Just keep flooding the country until the very last minute.
Incredible. And looks like the workplace is getting...
So, yeah. Well, now he just managed to finally get court approval to yank temporary protected status, and that went into effect today, where as of today, they can remove folks from the Haitians lost their temporary protected status. One of the things SCOTUS actually did well here. So Governor Mike DeWine, the Rhino, has to come out here whining that Springfield and Ohio needs their Haitians to take over American housing and to fill jobs.
The reasons they've been able to do that is because of the Haitians who have filled these jobs. They not only have filled jobs, they've started open restaurants, they've bought homes and rehabbed houses. They've done a lot of things that frankly have contributed to the community.
Oh, yeah, that's what we need. We need more Haitians. Schmuck. This is a Republican, supposedly.
And for them to be lost is going to be a big blow to Springfield, and it's going to be a big blow to the state of Ohio.
It's going to be a salvation for every cat living in Springfield.
I think, though, it's not just about Ohio. It's not just about Springfield. If you look at caregivers, if you look at long-term care in this country, about a third of them, people who work in nursing homes are immigrants.
Those are the ones who are collecting the checks. Those are the fraudsters, doofus. Like, read the room. Read the room. Even if you're a freaking rhino, read the room. I mean, have you not heard of Nick Shirley?
If you look at home health care, where they keep people in their own home, which is what we want, about a third of those individuals are immigrants. And so when you start deporting them and getting them out, people are really going to suffer. They're going to really feel it.
Yeah, just to let you know, like, according to the statistics, like Haitians, Somalians, so many of them just are below the poverty line and living off of government dime for decades. For decades. Unbelievable. These people are sickening. Sickening. Joe, I totally disagree. I believe a neutard Iran would bring peace. Oh, yeah, I think you mean a neutered. A neutered Iran would bring peace to 75% of the planet for the next 100 years. The RGC is an evil cult, and they have 22-inch chests. Don't let them buy merch. I'll tell you right now, I think that for the 2026 elections, it's a very dangerous game to play to still be in Iran. It's a very, very dangerous game to play. Can really, really harm us in the 2026 elections. Now, what I've said was he should tell Israel, go do what you need to do. Go do what you need to do. Just tell Bibi, go do what you need to do. And then in December, go back in there. But for the next 3 months, you got to be out. You got to be out. Disaster is lurking. It's lurking. Just imagine late October, if there's some sort of disaster where there's a whole bunch of American military lives which are lost. Aside from the first and foremost, the tragedy that would be to them and their families beyond description. But then secondarily, that bloodbath would carry over into the elections. Anyway, but I was sharing with you just how twisted and screwed up the Democratic Party is. And I was telling you that no one knows what the hell they even stand for. Well, here's one person who thinks she knows what it stands for. And that's the DSA leader. No one knows what this cow's name is. But I am reminded that when I watch this interview, that an animal farm.
I am tired of a set of people on the very far left in the Democratic Party, my party, telling us that in order for us to be progressives, we now have to believe ideas and support ideas that are completely nuts.
You got a set of defunding.
Well, this probably hurts your funding. That probably hurts your funding for Ken Martin.
Criminalizing open borders. We have run that play and gotten our butts kicked. We don't need to do it a second time to see if it turns out, if the movie turns out any different.
Prominent Democrat voices pushing back on the growing influence of the Democratic Socialist candidates they say are ultimately going to hurt the Democrat Party. So let's talk about it with the national co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America, Megan Romer. Megan,
I'm just going to remind you. So she's one of the heads of the Democratic Socialists of America Party. Just going to remind you, if you haven't read Animal Farm recently, that the people that the animals who were in control, and the most powerful ones were the pigs. I don't know what made me remember that when I was watching this interview, but it was the pigs who were in charge of everything. Anyway, what's her name again, this woman?
Socialist candidates they say are ultimately going to hurt the Democrat Party. So let's talk about it with the national co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America, Megan Romer. Megan, welcome to the show.
Megan Romer. Roaming around.
Thanks so much for having me, Shannon.
Okay, so there's this growing conversation about whether you can exist within the party, whether you want to upend it for your own purposes, a totally different platform. The Daily Economy quotes you saying this at a DSA convention last year. We will win by making conditions so intolerable for the ruling class that they would rather give in to our demands than continue to live with the disturbance we cause until we are able to fully seize power ourselves.
Basically, we're going to be domestic terrorists. That's essentially what that's describing. We're going to be so difficult that they're going to cave to our demands.
Is that aimed at the Democrat Party?
It's aimed from the working class to the ruling class. So
from the working class. Oh, okay. What percentage of people in your party's heads are part of the working class? What percentage of the people who are in your group are part of the working class?
The two-party duopoly, the two corporate parties, it is aimed at both of them, and it comes from the working class.
So
it's not coming from the working class. It's coming from people who are not in the working class who are in your party, because there's no one from the working class who's actually in your party.
Should Van Jones and Rahm Emanuel and James Carville and all of the establishment Democrats be worried about DSA plans from within their tent?
The establishment Democrats should be worried about the voters and about what the voters think and about what the constituency thinks. And right now they have not been delivering, and our candidates are and have been, and it's resonating with voters.
So Jamie Harrison, who was the DNC chair, after you guys had such a big night in New York City and knocking off some of those incumbents and having success with your candidates in the congressional primaries.
Exactly. They're all about the scabs.
He said, if you hate the Democratic Party, then don't run for our nomination. Don't use our resources. Don't rely on our volunteers. Don't use our infrastructure. Focus on building the party you actually support. Other Democrats out there saying this is a separate party, the DSA. You don't belong within the party. How do you respond to his statements there?
Yeah, I mean, the two parties have over years and decades created a system where ballot line access is extremely difficult for third parties. I also have been told a lot of times by Democrats, don't vote third party, it's wasting your vote. So we run on the Democratic ballot line where it makes sense. We run independents sometimes where that is a viable possibility, but it's a ballot line. And what matters is what the voters think. And the voters are overwhelmingly choosing our candidates.
They certainly did in New York and in other places, Colorado and others. It's not just a big city phenomenon or just a blue coastal phenomenon. Sure. Okay, so we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform. And I want to ask you, just give me...
There we go. There we go. Let's hear how wacky you are with your... It's not socialism. It's democratic socialism. Okay, this is what democratic socialism is. Try and spot the difference from actual socialism.
Sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program.
Let's just have criminals roaming free, everyone coming in here, give amnesty to everyone, abolish the borders, get rid of ICE, get rid of the Senate, because the Senate is all about, the reason they want to get rid of the Senate is because that gives states too much power.
Yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then let's go back through some of those then. Abolish this.
Government ownership of large corporations. Absolutely. What part of this is not just classic socialism?
Senate. There are people who are in the Senate now who are very supportive of DSA. They lose their seats?
Well, the Senate is an anachronistic institution. It comes from the British House of Lords. It is made to protect power for,
Next time you're a socialist talking about the workers, asking his tray and watch them squirm. It's great. Yeah.
The Senate was part of the system that was made to make sure that the people didn't have too much of a say. So we want to expand Congress significantly, but make it a unicameral legislature.
Okay, and without the presidency and Supreme Court. So abolish ICE. Would there be any enforcement of immigration laws, or with abolishing the border, we're not enforcing immigration laws, they go away?
Yeah, so again, this is part of this longer term plan, and part of it
But if you can get there.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get to the place where the U.S. is not destabilizing countries in order to mine them for resources, there will be significantly less migration.
What do you say to those, though,
not...
that would potentially destabilize the U.S.? Because there's only so much the economy can bear. And when you have a flood of people coming in, it might not work out economically, according to a lot of analyses, if you just open up the borders and there's no enforcement at all.
Well, we're not saying open the borders tomorrow. We're saying rebuild an economy
eventually.
and a society that works for everyone. And the open borders is part of a longer term international plan that involves us stopping destabilizing countries. Most people who are coming to this country are coming as economic refugees, and we destabilized their country. We did that.
Well, a lot of, if you look at data.
So what she's saying here is that essentially America should be punished for taking away talent from other countries. Now, frankly, I don't want to be taking talent from other countries. I don't want to be taking anyone from any other countries. If you ask me, I don't want to take anyone at all. We can figure out our own struggles and how to deal with whatever we need to develop on our own. So I don't want to be rating them for their talent. I also don't want to be taking their scraps. So, yeah. But essentially, what she's saying the quiet part out loud here, which is, if you can get past the glasses, which are very distracting, she's basically saying, let's make America so sucky that no one wants to come here. That's what the socialist platform is. She knows how disastrous this would be for America. She knows. Let's make America crap. It's the exact opposite of MAGA. Let's make America crap again. It's not MAGA, it's Mecca. Or maybe it's massa. If you can figure out if we can figure out what to put what we could use for an S. It's massa. I don't know if I can come up with something that we could use for the S. Make America sucky again, I guess is one way of putting it. That would be one way. That would be one S you could put in. She's like, no one's going to want to come here. Don't worry. By the time we're done with America, no one's going to want to come here. There's not going to be any mass migration anymore. This is what they're running on. Cauchy had all Mamdani's DSA picks winning the primaries, 25 cents, and they all won. I'm thinking about dropping another $50 on Republicans holding the House. I hope your mouth to God's ear.
Center for Immigration Studies says right now the households here in the
longer term international plan that involves us stopping destabilizing countries. Most people who are coming to this country are coming as economic refugees, and
But if we suck, and we're broke, no one's gonna be coming here.
destabilized their country. We did that.
Well, a lot of
So we need to punish ourselves and make ourselves broke by engaging in socialism, and people will stop coming here. It's probably true.
You know, if you look at data, the Center for Immigration Studies says right now the households here in the U.S. that are headed up by people who are here illegally, nearly 61% of them are on some type of government or welfare program here in the U.S. Can we afford to do that? I mean, at some point you run out of resources.
No, if we go broke, don't worry. Don't worry. We go broke under socialism, people stop coming.
Well, right now we make it very difficult for people to participate in society in such a way that they can avoid using services. So we want people to be able to work and live and go to school and actually participate, which means contributing to society and also getting what they need from society. It's
What do you do?
a collective choice we can all make.
So if we talk about abolishing prisons, then does that make society better? I mean, is there anybody that should be incarcerated? I mean, rapists, child predators, murderers?
Yeah, so the long-term plan, when we think about most people who are in prison, they are mostly in prison for crimes of poverty.
That's why they rape. That's why they murder. Okay.
So when
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the really,
Yeah,
you know, like the
I hear
murders
you.
and
So
rapists of the
when
world.
so when we get rid of this need for crimes of poverty to exist, when we get rid of that destabilizing force that creates so many people who are living in desperate situations and doing desperate things, that brings those numbers down to very small numbers. And then we can collectively decide what we do with those people. I suspect it won't look like the prison system as we know it today.
See, this is a woman who has absolutely no fear of ever being raped. So it's very easy for her to, make these claims. I mean, it's not like many hippos in prison.
Okay, but you do think some people need to be locked away from society?
Some people are not able to be functional members of society. That's true. But what does that look like to keep the rest of us safe? We're talking about safety. We're not talking about punishment. We're talking about making sure that we're safe, everybody's safe, everybody maintains their dignity, and everybody maintains their humanity.
Okay, so much more to discuss. I hope that you will come back, especially as we figure out what the party does with respect to you, meaning the Democrat Party, in your role in it, and in 2028 especially. Megan Brummer, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
So there you go. Mooing the quiet part out loud. So Megan Romer, a woman who never has to worry about being sexually assaulted, is coming out there basically standing up for socialism, saying let's make America broke so no one wants to come here anymore. That's what socialism is now at. That's the new Democratic Party. Then you wonder why Ken Martin's struggling to raise money. Why are you struggling to? How is this platform not working? How is this not working? Senator John Fetterman is not too pleased with this, saying Democratic Socialists abolish Senate, Pentagon, presidency, presidents. This isn't a Big Ten, it's anarchy. Why can't Dems call out the DSA? So you want to know why it is Democratic Party is struggling? That's why. That's why. They have crazy policies. They scare off the rich from their cities the way Mamdani is by doxing them. They basically cannot call out the Socialist Party because they're afraid of them. They're afraid of their own constituents. So of course they're not going to call them out because the youngins voting basically are all supporting them. They're all supporting them. The ones who are not working, all supporting them. And that's what happens when you make your bread and butter off by getting people to vote for you who aren't working. So you're kind of screwed. And those people are not really good at donating to the party for one reason or another. Why is it that these people who have no jobs aren't donating more money to us? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not a plan. Maybe it's not a good policy. So those of you who think that things are bleak for the Republican Party, next time you think things are bleak for this part, for MAGA or for the future of America, just remember, just think to yourself, this is what we're going up against. This lunacy. And take heart. That's all I can tell you. Take heart. I promised I was going to talk about, since we hit our goal tonight, I promised I was going to talk about Shiloh. To be fair with you, I haven't really looked too much into this story yet, but we're going to look at it together. Shiloh Hendricks. Some of you might have forgotten who Shiloh Hendricks is. Let me see if I can find a clip for you so you can basically appreciate this story with Shiloh Hendricks. And she just got busted. This was Shiloh Hendricks. And see the video, you'll probably remember it quickly.
Did you call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
That's Shiloh Hendricks right there.
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger? The little child?
What if he acts like one is gonna
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you. You call him a nigger?
So, do you see any crimes here? I don't see any crimes here. You might find her speech hateful. That's why we have a First Amendment. I don't know. That's what I grew up learning. That's the reason we have a First Amendment. Well, sadly, this is what we got now. Rochester jury finds woman who hurled racial slurs at a black child on a playground guilty. A woman who called a black autistic child a racial slur last year, they also have to throw in here is he's autistic. When they don't call him the thief. They call him a thief. A woman who called a black thief a racial slur last year has been found guilty on one count of disorderly conduct and not guilty on another. The incident, which occurred at a playground in Rochester in April of last year, was caught on video by a bystander and went viral. Shiloh Hendricks, 37, called the then 8-year-old boy, he's not 5 years old, he's 8-year-old boy, the N-word after he allegedly reached into her diaper bag in the Roy Sutherland playground in Soldier Fields Park and took an item. She then began cussing at a bystander who's black, hurling the N-word at him as well. The incident prompted Rochester City Attorney Michael Spindler-Crage, schmuck, to charge Hendricks with 2 counts of disorderly conduct, one involving her words and behavior toward the child, and the other involving her words and behavior toward the man who videotaped the incidents. Like, what the hell's it his business? The guilty verdict was related to her behavior toward the man, not the kid. So this guy comes harassing her because he's not happy with the way she spoke to the kid. She did nothing wrong to the kid, but what she just did in that video apparently was disorderly conduct. Hendricks was sentenced immediately following the verdict being read. She was ordered to pay a $1,000 fine and was placed on probation in order to community service. She initially faced up to 90 days in jail, but will serve no jail time unless probation is broken. The defense attorney, Brian Carolus, said he would appeal the decision. I think it's pathetic, Carolus said, following the ruling. I think it's sad. I'm shocked. In a statement Friday morning, the Rochester City Attorney, let's hear his statement. Here is Brian. We're going to hear from him.
What's your reaction to the verdict today?
I think it's pathetic. I think it's sad. I think it's sick. I think
he's right.
Shocked. I've never had a trial where they keep people. This is a misdemeanor, by the way, till 10:30 at night. Never even heard of that one before. Most courts, most counties, what they do is around 4:30, 5 o'clock is they say, okay, we're going to send the jurors home. They got kids, they got families, they got things to do. No, we're keeping them. I've never heard of that before. So that alone, I know this is a thing, I guess, Olmsted County, they do this. I thought that was bizarre. But the verdict itself, let's make something clear here. Let's make something very clear. She's acquitted, not guilty, right? Not guilty with the child. The state reads a 5-minute victim impact statement about the child. She was acquitted about the child. She's convicted on the count involving the cameraman, who they never called to testify. Keep this in mind. They never called the cameraman to testify. This judge prohibited us from telling the jury that Shire Jamali, had a GoFundMe page, $340,000. He testified that it was done in May last year, done. That's not true. There's a link on the bottom of the page that goes to another open account. My investigator hit the link last night, donated $10. It's open. You can donate right now. You can donate right now to Shire Jamali's GoFund page right now. It's open. He testified under oath and perjured himself. He perjured himself over and over and over and over again. This was without any stretch of the imagination. It was like I was fighting the prosecutor and the judge. It was like I'm taking on two parties at the same time. The judge and the prosecutor. It was very bizarre. Very bizarre. GoFundMe. Huge, worldwide, giant. It's like Google, right? This is so big. My investigator was going to testify that this page with Shire Jamali's name on it. 5-year-old. The kid's 9. 5-year-old. $340,000 he raised. The judge would not let me show it to a jury. Sorry. The judge would not let me show it to the jury. Okay? And if you go through any of you right now can go online right now. And the judge, like, you can't authenticate this. You can't lay foundation. This prosecutor is telling the judge, oh, how do we know this is real? How do we know this is real? So anyone can make this up. You can go online right now, today, right now. Go on that page, unless they.
Let's see if we can find it. Shire. I spell this. Jerome. I'm going to spell this kid's name.
You run and take it down, scroll down. He has an open GoFundMe. He said on the stand he does not. He lied and lied and lied and lied. This entire thing's a shakedown. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. The prosecutor should be ashamed of himself. The judge should be ashamed of herself. I had a battle here for 4 days on a stupid misdemeanor, disorderly conduct. This is nuts.
He's right. It's insane. This is insane. It's utterly, this is crazy. Let me see if I can find, let me ask Grok about this. Grok, Shiloh Hendricks. What's the name of the kid who she yelled at?
The child's name isn't publicly reported. His father is Shire Jamel, and the boy is autistic. Most coverage just calls him the 5 or 8-year-old boy from the Rochester playground incident.
Give me a link to Shire Jamel's GoFundMe.
The main one is the Rochester NAACP fundraiser for Shire Jamel at GoFundMe.com/F/help-us-seek-justice-for-5-year-old-facing-racial-hate. There's also a family-managed one at GoFund.me/E39CC33E, though reports suggest it may not be active.
$340,000. $340,000. Unfriggin' believable. Now it's 341,000. And the seed, $25 given 6 hours ago, which is the parents. Another 8,000. Just given 6 hours ago. So this, 6 hours ago. He's right.
This was crazy. 340,000. Nope. Can't show the jury. 5-year-old. Kid was 9. His name's on it. Can't authenticate it. Still open account. So we're going to appeal it. We will appeal it. We have so many appellate issues, I don't even know where to begin. Judges screaming at me during the trial. Judges interrupting me every time I want to make a record. Judge says to me, Mr. Corrales, you keep wanting to make a record after I rule. This is crazy. Most
There's nothing wrong with making a record after he rules.
rulings during a trial by a judge are made during the trial.
Yep.
And then when you take a break, you make a record.
That's
right?
what you do. To record it. You're saying this ruling he just made, I'm objecting to for the record. That way you preserve it for appeal. But this is probably some low-level judge who has no idea anything about how an actual trial works.
You take a break, you make a record. I kept asking. If you're in there and you watch the trial, I kept asking, I need to make a record. I need to make a record. She'd get upset, run in the back. Get upset, run in the back. Your Honor, I need to make a record. It started piling up. All these objections started piling up. Your Honor, I need to make a record. I need to make a record. She'd run in the back. I'm like, Judge, we got to make a record. This is insane. This isn't law. This is a circus. This is monkey court.
I like this guy a lot. I know that we're meeting him after a loss. I like this guy a lot.
This is nuts, right? You make a record. The judge should come out and say, okay, I made my ruling, Mr. Corrales, what is your record you like to make? I try to make a record. She interrupts me from the beginning, right from the start. Every time I tried to make a record, she interrupts me. Every single time. Every single time. I'm like, Your Honor, I'm trying to make a record. That's what we do as lawyers.
I'm going to try to get this guy on the show.
I don't know if the lay people or the people in the community understand this. The way trials work is judges make rulings during trial. We don't want to interrupt the trial to make a record every time someone objects and there's a ruling.
I'm going to see if I can get a hold of this guy.
Or you go to lunch, or at the end of the day, you make a record. She wouldn't let me make a record. If you're in there, you heard it.
It's not Sean Sin and Drag. It's not a kid on her hip. It's a quirky. Prove me wrong. I can't prove you wrong. It does look a lot like Sin and Drag. I've seen Sin. It looks a lot like him. It's crazy.
Talk over me. She'd interrupt me. Wouldn't let me make a record. Over and over and over again. Why? She didn't want anybody to hear what? They didn't disclose the name of Shire Jamali until Monday. The first day of trial. No, I'm not done. Sorry. Until the first day of trial, they didn't even disclose his name. Think about that. A jury trial in the United States of America I didn't get the name until Monday when we started the trial, until Monday. And then my investigators do a record check. Then we uncover, oh my God, he's got this GoFundMe, $340,000.
Mr. Crowley, a couple of things.
Sure.
According to the court, you agreed to those free trial terms about not getting the witnesses beforehand and
Did not agree to it. Here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Let me hear that question again.
Started the trial until Monday. And then my investigators do a record check. Then we uncover, oh my God, he's got this GoFundMe, $340,000.
Mr. Crowley, a couple of things.
Sure.
According to the court, you agreed to those free trial terms about not getting the witnesses beforehand and
Did not agree to it. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I thought I was coming down here to try a free speech case. You all saw the video. I thought I was coming to Rochester to try a free speech case based on the video. Then it took on an entirely different, it just turned, right? Mr. Jamali takes the stand. Wouldn't answer any question I asked him. He sat there like this. Oh, I don't understand. He looked at his interpreter. I don't understand. I don't understand. Over and over and over again. When the prosecutor asked him a question, he had no problem through the interpreter understanding. Never had a problem understanding. Not one time. I put the detective on the stand. Detective, did he ever have a tough time understanding you? Never had a tough time understanding him. Never had a tough time. Not one time did the detective have any problems understanding. You're in the jury room.
I did
or in
forget.
the trial. You're in the courtroom. You're in the courtroom. You're in the courtroom. He acted like he didn't understand any question I asked him. Every single question was like pulling teeth. It's like, huh? Oh, It went on and on and on. This is a fraud. This whole thing's a fraud. The cameraman. By the way, let's make something clear. They didn't convict.
I love this guy. Oh, he's so good. He's so good. I know. I take him as my lawyer. He's great.
With the child. Your headlines could be about the child. No, they convicted her on the video with the cameraman. The disorderly conduct is about the cameraman.
Which is insane.
And from what
Insane. This guy's hounding her with his stupid phone, and now she's got to be polite to him. F off. How can you have disorderly conduct when this guy's the one hounding her because he didn't like how she treated the kid? It's insane. This whole thing is insane.
What I understand about the cameraman, he has a GoFundMe. And his GoFundMe, hold on, his GoFundMe is he died. He has a GoFundMe that he died. Give money to the cameraman who died. And from what I understand, he's well alive. This whole thing is fucking bullshit.
Oh my God.
This is a fraud. This is a fraud upon the community.
Oh, this guy's great. He's so good. He's so good.
Concerned at all about the judge's warnings over contempt of court or any
Sure, as she
sanctions?
screamed at me in front of the jury, that'll be on appeal. Yeah. Judge's decorum screaming at a lawyer out loud in front of the jury. Yeah, I was concerned.
She claimed you implied that the court was dumber than a law student.
Didn't say that.
I'm sure he thought it. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is so, this gets better and better. This is so good. Oh my God. This guy is great.
She said that. She said that. Yeah. Weird, right? She said that, not me.
Anything else you think we or people should know?
Do your job. Be better. Be better. Be more fair. Get rid of your woke shit. That's what I would say.
Nice.
Were you ever concerned?
Oh my God. I got to find this guy. I'm going to follow him now. How's she doing financially? She's like $1 million. She became a millionaire out of this. Good. Good on her. Good on her. She has a goal of millions. She raised so far 925. And the money just keeps rolling in for her. Good on her. This is not a fight for Shiloh. This is a fight for our freedom of speech. That's what this is ultimately. It's a fight for our freedom of speech. Wow. So there you go. Found guilty with respect to the stupid cameraman. Everybody got rich here. Everyone got paid. Everyone got paid. This lawyer's going to get paid. Everyone got paid. Cameron got paid. Kid got paid. Shiloh got paid. Everyone got paid. But this is a fight for free speech. I try to turn this into some stupid disorderly conduct. Ridiculous. Good. That's hilarious. That's really awesome. All right. Well, we're going to definitely following up on how this appeal goes, because this judge sounds like a complete incompetent. Sounds like a complete and utter incompetent. This is the cameraman over here. You want to see the cameraman? Supposedly.
Now, got hey, hey, hey. You're so mad. You're so mad. You can't do nothing about. Hey, I'm about to use my favorite line. I didn't do nothing. Didn't do nothing. Didn't do nothing. Didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. Didn't do. Look at all those followers I got. That's crazy. Like, why y'all? Hey, they deserve it. Hey, if you gonna be dumb as shit with your money, you deserve it. You deserve it.
Oh, he's not the camera. He's the man behind a fake Shiloh Hendricks account X, now with over 35,000 followers, just went live to brag about scamming MAGA supporters out of money to cover his personal expenses, including rent and gym membership and food. He mocked the white people who donated to him and claimed he identifies as a 135-pound white woman. The real Shiloh Hendricks recently found guilty of one count of disorderly conduct after being recorded by a Somali man on Playground using abusive language, has warned her supporters that her gives and go, that she's not active on social media, and urged them not to fall for scams, noting that numerous people are impersonating her. Anyone who knows the identity of this man or got scammed by him can contact me via DM. Wow. You would think that there's got to be crimes involved in that. You would think. Sharmake Omar is the Somali man who filmed Shiloh Hendricks on the playground. In January 2022, he and another Somali man allegedly spent 2 days raping an underage foster care runaway in a trailer, keeping her falsely in prison. In March 2025, all charges were dismissed in the interest of justice. Weeks later, in April 2025, he turned his camera phone at the playground after a young Somali thief attempted to steal from a white mom, Shiloh Hendricks, and began haranguing the white mom for having said the N-word. Omar demanded that Hendricks repeat the word on camera, which she did 4 times, while Omar himself said the word 5 times in less than 1 minute video. 4 long months later, multiple disorderly conduct charges were maliciously brought against Shiloh Hendricks for the playground incident in which she was the only victim. And Sharmake Omar was the videographer. Then last night, Shiloh Hendricks was convicted specifically for saying N-word to Sharmake Omar after he demanded she say it, while he himself said it repeatedly. Her sentence is $1,000 and 200 hours in community service. By the way, Sharmake Omar was never called to testify in the Hendricks trial. But don't worry, that's not all the justice we have in store for today. Just keep the substance of Shiloh's crime as well as her sentence in mind as we move forward. Rewind to April 2020. That's when Sharmake Omar, our favorite Somali videographer, along with another Somali friend and his separate from his alleged co-raper, committed a violent assault on the street. Omar threw a rock at a car, then attacked and beat the 16-year-old driver. A bystander tried to intervene, but Omar's accomplice threatened him with a knife. For this, Shamaki Omar was charged merely with disorderly conduct. Yes, for hurling a deadly weapon at a vehicle, then beating the teenage driver while his criminal pal held off onlookers at a knife point, Omar faced the exact same charge that Shiloh Hendricks faced for saying a word that Omar asked her to say, and she held her child in her arms and fled the playground before Omar could assault her too. Like Shiloh Hendricks, Shamaki Omar was convicted on his count of disorderly conduct. His sentence, $200 fine. That's it. That's the entire thing. So review. Rape an underage foster child for 2 days, allegedly, clean slate. Hurl a deadly weapon in a car and assault his driver, $200. Say a word to an accused rapist, kidnapper, and convicted violent criminal who demands you say it while saying it himself is $1,000 and 200 hours, not to mention interracial infamy. Could the anti-white standard be any more egregiously in our faces? It's true. It's true. Seriously, everyone involved in prosecuting the Shiloh Hendricks case is unspeakably evil. This includes, but not limited to, Rochester City Attorney Michael Spindler Crage, which anyone who's got like a double last name, you have to have problems with. Lead prosecutor Nicholas Shabel, Judge Krista Daly, who ensured Shiloh's conviction, Rochester NAACP, and all these other. I don't know why he's going after Keith Ellison, although we should go after him all the time. All we hear a special dishonorable mention must go to every single First Amendment organization in this hollowed out country of ours. The ones relentlessly solicit and collect large sums of money to defend free speech while continuously cravenly shrinking away from every meaningful case where white people, literally the only group with majority support for the First Amendment, are so clearly maliciously prosecuted. It is sickening. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. The only reason she's getting money is that this came out at the same time as Carmelo Anthony fundraiser. It was black versus white tit for tat thing. Perhaps. Well, you know what? I'm not complaining about her getting paid. But she's getting paid. Make no mistake about it. She's getting paid. That's our show for tonight. God willing, I hope to see all of you back here tomorrow. Maybe a little earlier. Hopefully 10 o'clock. That's the goal. 10 o'clock tomorrow. But you'll find that at goodlogic.locals.com. Please make sure you check out our merch shop, all that other good stuff and things of that nature. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything over. I'm going to do just a little round. I don't know. Things got very quiet in the ghetto. Love you, people. If you could please hit like and subscribe, I'd appreciate that. Whether you're on Rumble, whether you're on YouTube, you can sign up, join the following, become a member, become part of the team, where you'll find greater personal growth through community, unity, learning, and thinking. Greater personal growth is always a good thing. I thank you all for joining me and remind you that lab meat was never meant for you. It's meant for they, them, and do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Have a good night and Godspeed.
The plane is landing. The show is almost over. All that's left for you is this song. Joe left the studio. He's probably drinking Diet Mountain Dew. Maybe he's watching funny videos on YouTube, or playing chess, or doing Jewy things Jews do. We hope you had fun and maybe you learned something. You hit like and you subscribe. Leave a comment if you want to show some love. That would be cool. You can be cool. Leaving comments is cool. So till next time, please be sure to stay away from lab meat. It was never meant for you. It's meant for they or them or comrades, sparkle hugs. And most importantly, do not eat Z-bugs. Good night and Godspeed. Good night and Godspeed.